Yeah, that's the good part. We're starting off different. That's all good. We don't have to do it cleanly. Hello, welcome, everybody to the Global Latino Podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Thank you very much for being here, for joining another episode with an amazing story. If you have not subscribed to the channel, I don't know what you're doing. It's been about 3 years. What are we waiting? What are we waiting for? Please subscribe because it helps us a lot, and especially if you like and leave a comment. These amazing stories that we are sharing. As I told you before, what the Global Land Factor is. Today, we have an amazing person with an amazing story. Has been through can't believe some of the things that she's been through, and some of the work she's done. We have a actress, model, who started modeling back in 2012. And this is what I found on YouTube. On Google. I don't know if it's true or not. Films such as Crave, Root of Evil, Hanging On in 2024, and The Diamond Tester 2022. So she could tell us maybe about those. Lisette Nava en la casa. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure. I've seen you before at the Homies, the Council show. Should to be coming back. I know they will. But I thought it was pretty cool, your story. I was listening to the episode because I usually check out their stuff too. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. I didn't know. Here in Dallas, I've seen you probably in some maybe social media, mutual people. But I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool what she does. Was that intro correct? Was those films something that you already completed?
Yes. Well, one of them is not completed as of yet. The Root of All Evil is not officially done, but it's still in the process of being edited and being filmed. I do have another one that's going to be coming out. It's called Sugar City, and it comes out on January the 9th of 2025.
Okay, so add that one to the list and make sure she go give us the details on the premiere.
Yeah.
And where is it going to be at? Okay, but first we get to the good stuff. We're going to start with a segment that I like to call Preguntas al Chile. I know you like to enjoy good meals.
Preguntas al Chile.
¿Lista?
Sí.
Tacos or tortas?
Tacos.
Yeah. What is your favorite go-to taco?
Al pastor.
Al pastor?
Yeah.
Okay. Corn tortillas or flour tortillas?
Corn.
Gorditas or pupusas?
Gordito.
Gorditas. Mexican coca or jarritos?
Oh, that is a hard one. I would have to say Mexican Coke because those are hard to find.
Yeah, definitely. And then I know people like people that are Caucasian people that are really like, they're different.
Yeah.
I just got into Mexican Coke. I was like, oh, you're never going to leave them.
Oh, yeah.
Agua de horchata, jamaica, or tamarindo?
Horchata.
Horchata, yes. Elotes, or, I don't know. So this one's interesting because the people call it different names. And elote and esquite, I don't know if you know what the difference is.
No, I don't know.
You know.
Elote.
En vaso.
En vaso.
Salsa verde or salsa roja?
Salsa verde.
Menudo or pozole?
Pozole. That's a hard one, but pozole.
Pozole?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's different kinds of pozole, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Minimum 3 of them. The white one, the red one, or the green one. Which one do you?
I would have, man, that was a hard one.
Yeah.
I would probably say the red one.
That was pretty good. Fun fact about me, I plant-based, vegan, plant-based, you could say. And my mom makes some with mushroom, but it's white. But I like to put all the other stuff like the oregano and the chile piquin on it, and limon, and then some repollo or cabbage.
Yes, cabbage. Yeah.
Freaking good. With some tostadas.
Yeah. Good.
Hassan over there choking. You okay, bro?
Someone's getting hungry.
Cumbia dancing or salsa dancing?
Cumbia,
yeah. Valentina, Tapatio, or Cholula hot sauce? This was different. Not even close to the other ones. We're going to entertain conspiracies since forever and a day. I think it's funny. I think they have an origin of something, of truthness sometimes. Later on in the years, you find out, oh, no, that was kind of real. A conspiracy theory that you heard one time, that as soon as you heard it, you'd be like, that could be true.
Okay, so I think the government actually released this now, but before, something that I was like very like thrown off about. You know how like back then they used to be like, oh, UFOs are not, or aliens are not real, blah blah blah. Okay, well, I had 2 separate times where I saw something. I don't know what it was.
Here in the Dallas, Texas area?
Yeah.
Oh.
I live out in the country, so like you could see the sky clear as day, basically.
Yeah.
And I actually have one of the videos. I recorded it. And I saw like I don't know what it was, but like I started recording it, and it's just like as soon as I started recording it, it's like the lights around just turned off. It's like it disappeared, and you couldn't see anything anymore. And I just thought that was really weird, and I was like, no, it's just to me, it's just like not logically to me for us to only be the ones here on Earth,
Yeah. Is that the one you recorded, or is that the other time?
No, that I recorded.
Okay.
I had recorded that one, and then the other time, the second time, I had gone to go pick up pizza for my kids at night, and on my way back, I had seen like this orb-looking thing, and it looked like it was falling, but then it like picked up, and it almost looked like a J, and then it just took off. Like if you would have blinked, you would have missed it. And it was 2 different looking crafts. So I'm just like,
So you can kind of sort of tell they were crafts, or based on the lights?
You could tell. Like the orb looked brighter than the LED is the best way that I can describe it.
Yeah.
And it was at night, so I mean it was like bright up there. And then the second time it looked like it was round and almost like if it had like lights or windows that like lit up, and then all of a sudden everything turns off. But it's just weird. I'll have to show you the video. I'll show it to you after.
So if you can send it to us, I don't know, we'll be able to post it or clip it in some way, somehow. That'll be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like the way that you said it seems like logical that if this universes are infinite, that would be the only thing that it's made. We've been very fortunate, like just to think how creation, how Earth, how everything just came to be. Like everything I lined up so perfectly for us to be here, right? Mm-hmm. To say that nothing else in the freaking infinite universe that didn't happen is crazy to think that. Or it could be very lonely to think that we're the only thing out there.
Yes, but see, not only that, I have a theory that it might, I mean, yes, they might be in outer space as well, but I think they're like within here. Like, I think they're within our underground, or like under the ocean, or they live probably within us, just without our knowledge.
I heard not that long ago, rumors about places inside Earth with everything looks like the outside of it.
Really?
I mean,
but inside?
Inside, because we never actually dug so deep in there that there's, again, this is all conspiracy. This is nothing proven. I have no scientific nothing.
Yeah, but I'm sure that only certain people have access.
Yeah. So to think that there's nothing within our Earth inside of it, that there's other, with literally a sun and sky and everything inside, I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
That is.
Yeah. Makes you want to think.
You know what? It makes you think of that saying, as above, so below.
Yeah, so below. What's below? We were talking, why we want to focus on getting out of, great that we want to become a different planetary body, right? But the ocean, like you said earlier, the water, we don't take, like we don't do a lot of this. We in our own thing in the forest, the Amazon, all that stuff. We don't take our time to go explore. Why do we want to take our technology, go over there? I mean, there's people but not enough resources to be able to put more resources to get it out of here. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
When you hear the word Latino or Latina, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is proudness. I am proud to be a Latina because it allows me to like represent the Latino industry.
Yeah.
And so to me, hearing Latina is, I don't know, like to me, it's like I'm a voice for the Latinos. So it means so much to me. It's not just Latino or Latina.
So you don't mind if anybody calls you Latina? Do you prefer another term for you as far? Mexicana, I don't know if you are Mexicana or not, but or anything like that? Or
I mean, to me, I don't get offended over titles really. I would just be, I would prefer just to be called my name, but I mean, titles, I don't, it doesn't bother.
Cool. Okay, so let's get to your story. I think you have an interesting story. I heard a little bit about it, with the cancer show, but I wanted to dig just a little deeper on the things that you've done so far. So, I just like this question, and I just like to know if there's a beautiful story there we can share.
Okay.
Like, so you're Latina, Mexicana. Where's your heritage? Ethnicity, you would say.
My mom and my dad were raised in El DF, and they came here before I was born. And I was raised here, and I've gone to Mexico maybe like 2 or 3 times. And I guess because of the whole separation between my parents, it became very difficult to travel out to Mexico and just stuff like that. But I mean, now that I'm an adult, I'm able to go. So I love being able to just get up and go and not needing like certain permissions or signatures and whatnot to travel out. And I mean, it's awesome. Because before, you can't, as a child, you can't travel out of the country unless you have the signature of your mom and your dad.
Yeah.
So now it's like, hey, I'm a grown-up, so I get to enjoy the country and go as I please.
Yeah. Do you happen to know their story? How did they even make it from the DF? By the way, I have family in El DF. Saludos a todos, mi gente chilanga. I know they might not like that. And there was a clue when whenever you said cumbia, I was like, ooh, I wonder if she's from Mexico City. I really thought about it. I'm like, because they love their cumbia. Okay, so do you happen to know if their story of how they made it here to the U.S., why they leave, and how their journey here?
I know. Well, my dad always tells us about how he started when he came here. He started with 2 quarters, with 50 cents, and how he ended up getting a job at I guess it was a Chinese restaurant, and he would walk like several miles and just to make it to work. And they helped him out. Of course, he was an immigrant, so they would pay him cash and help him with like homing and stuff like that. And of course, the pay wasn't a whole bunch because they were providing him a shelter. But he managed to go from there into leaving that and getting a better job, getting more on his feet. And of course, now he has like his own house, land, and he has more land in Mexico and Cancun. And so he's always like, I came from 50 cents and like now I'm here. But in Mexico, he did go through his career as an electrician. But whenever he came over here, of course, the degree doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not valid, basically. So he had to start all over. So that's where he started at the Chinese restaurant.
And what about your mom?
My mom, he ended up marrying her, or he came here, worked hard, and then went over there. The way that they met is they were neighbors. So they would literally lived across from each other. So he basically worked his butt off, and then once he was able to get enough money, he went over there, got my mom, came over here, started their life here, and here I am.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What area were you born here? In the Dallas area?
Yeah, I was actually born in
Parkland, baby. Nothing wrong with the Parkland. Hey, I check out Parkland now.
Yeah.
Came up a long way. Well, I never saw the old one, but I saw the new
I
one.
haven't seen the new one yet. I've seen the old
It
one.
looks good.
Yeah,
Very good.
nice.
Very, very pleasant place. I don't like going to hospitals.
Hospitals, I hate.
I don't like hospitals. I don't like to, but if I have to, I will.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. By the way, you get lost very easily.
Fun fact, the day of my car accident, I didn't want to go to the hospital. It's not that I didn't want to go to the hospital. I didn't want to go into the ambulance because, man, those ambulances cost a lot of money. And that hospital was like literally right around the corner. Oh, don't ask me how much that bill was.
5 G's?
Oh,
10 G's?
it was up there. It was up there. Just for the ride. I mean, it wasn't okay, so the hospital was maybe 2 to 5 minutes away from the place. My bill came up to like 2 G's or 2 to 3 G's. Just
For like 2-minute joyride.
Yeah.
A joyride, I mean like uncomfortable, right?
And me, I'm not I'm not a person that likes to take medicine, take drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
So, it was just the ride. They didn't even give you medicine or nothing. It was just a ride. I'm just like, it's the most expensive ride ever.
Okay,
Oh.
so we're gonna keep you in suspense because we'll talk about the accident here very shortly because it's crazy. The story that it's just crazy. All right, so let's dive into what you've been doing. So you, in your mind, never had any idea of any modeling as a girl, as a little girl. Did you mimic anything as movies? Maybe you thought one day crazily, like, oh, maybe one.
Yes, actually, I did, and it wasn't until me now that I'm actually in the industry that I think back and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like maybe I already knew I wanted to do this as a little girl, and maybe I forgot along the way, becoming a grown up, and now it's just like I love what I do, and I see, I don't know, I just see my inner child come out through the entertainment industry. But whenever I was little, I was about 5 years old. I don't know who is not a fan of Selena Quintanilla,
Of course.
but I was. And so I would turn on the TV and I would always like watch the movie, and like, I would like turn on all her videos and her music and turn it on and just dance in the living room. And I would always be like, mommy, like, I'm going to be like her. I'm going to be in front of the TV and that. And
Speaking into
yeah.
existence.
yeah,
Wow.
I sure did, because then once I was actually in front of the camera, and at the very beginning, it was more of like curiosity. It wasn't of okay, this is what I want to do and this is what I'm gonna go for. It was more of like, what is this? If I haven't done this before, am I even good enough? Like, it's just so many questions and doubts. And so I was just like, you know what? F it. I'm gonna give it a shot and just see where it goes. If it takes off, then cool, it goes somewhere. And if it doesn't, well then, maybe I need to get a new hobby or just go practice even harder at it to, become really good. And so, I ended up just after that first film, just go back into the snowball effect. Went back in. I did take a break from the industry. Whenever I had my kids, I just focused just on my kids, and I was just like a full-time mom. And once my youngest became a little bit older and she went to school, I'm like, okay, now it's time to like try to focus on me and like follow my passions and pursue what I want. And so that's whenever I started like to pursue it more. And then like the more that I did it, the more I liked it, the more I like kept booking and booking and booking. And it's just like God is so good that he just kept opening door after door after door. And, I ended up being acknowledged by, now she's the CEO of my agency now.
Mhm.
But she had seen like my work and how like my bookings were out there so much. And she kept seeing me like out there in the industry so much. And she was just like, she would ask me like a good 3 times to like have me signed. And at first I didn't want to, just because I was very, I always like to like check out people first before I sign any contracts or something like that. And after a while, I was just like, after the 3rd time, I was just like, you know what? I'm all like, I've worked with a lot of like the people that work for your agency. I'm all like, I think I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. And ever since, I've been good. I have my agency to back me up. It's a bad habit. I still do search for my own jobs as well, just because, I started off as independent, and like whenever, like since ending of 2019 to, what was it, 2022, was whenever I was just independent. Those 2 to 3 years, I did all my bookings, I did all my scheduling, everything myself, which, I ended up getting an agency because it took a lot of time away from my kids. I was there with my kids, but I wasn't present with my kids because I was always like, okay, I got to look for another job or another gig, or let me audition to this, let me audition to that. And, you end up getting caught up on just searching that, time goes by and then you miss out on the chance to be with your family. So, that's why I ended up signing up with my agency, because it just helped. It's so much more convenient. Now I just focus fully on my kids, on being a mom, and she and my agent Nick do basically all my bookings. They send in all my auditions.
And what is the name of the agency?
Icon Studios.
Icon Studios
Yeah.
out of Dallas, Texas?
Yeah.
Awesome. Icon Studios out of Dallas, Texas. Okay, let's backtrack just a little bit before we get to the acting part. So in 2012, so roughly, you began modeling first, right? Before you even began to, the cameras begin as far as the acting. How did Mr. Joe Arenas find you, or how did y'all connect to even begin to even get on camera and, let's say, begin to get a little bit of experience on taking pictures? Do you kind of sort of recall, or did he just reach out to you?
Out to me on social media, but I can't fully 100% remember, but I think it was social media. And at first I was always been super sketch, because I mean I have been approached before about like modeling and stuff like that. Once, even before he approached me, I got a message to be sent to New York. And so I was just like, no. At the time, I think I was 17.
Just randomly though? Nothing, you had no portfolio, no pictures, nothing?
No,
Just
that was before
posting
acting. It
on-
was just somebody that just reached out, and I was just like, no, this is super sketch. Like, how do I know like they're legit? And like, I didn't know anything about the industry either. So my mom was just like, no, you're not doing it. You're not going to another state for any modeling or anything like that. So I was just like, okay, well, whatever.
Said Instagram, Facebook, how did they reach out to you?
Facebook. I think
Okay.
it was Facebook.
And then move fast forward, then how was his approach? I mean, do you remember if he was online or was in person by any chance?
I think it was Facebook as well. I want to say, yeah.
You get the message, you read the message. How do you receive it? Is it, again, first experience, kind of sketch, you kind of get a vibe, but this time, maybe you kind of go through his profile and kind of sort of see that he really does this?
Yeah, I did see that he was an actual photographer. He did have his backup, and then he did send me portfolios to like check out his work and if I was interested. So it was a lot more professional.
Mm-hmm.
And so that made me kind of like, oh, okay, well, I mean, should I give it a shot? I mean, I think whenever I ended up going, I took a friend, because I'm very just, it's always good for anybody that's wanting to join part of the industry. Never go alone to any of these things, just for your safety and, just in case of anything. But yeah, I ended up taking a friend with me, and she went, everything went good. The photo shoot went good and everything. I never once did I felt uncomfortable or anything like that. And then I kind of liked it, and I was just like, okay, this isn't so bad. And after that,
what were you doing right before that? What was like your everyday, normal, per se, regular Joe or Jane? What were you doing right before that?
Before that, I was working like 2 to 3 jobs at a time. So like my senior year in high school, I was working 2 jobs and I was going to high school. And then after I finished high school, I was always between 2 to 3 jobs.
Was it waitering? Was it in the customer service, retail? What kind of?
I did so many. So I did work in retail. I worked in a clothing store. I worked in a fast food. My first job was at a Whataburger. My second one was at a Wingstop, which I ended up starting at the very bottom, and I worked my way up to a manager. Then after that, I ended up moving to Radio Shack, which I started at the very bottom, and then they ended up giving me 3 stores, so that I was managing 3 stores. And then from there, I was HR. So I did all the hiring and firing for a company that basically built buildings, and then we had a construction site that built the buildings, and then we had a cleaning site that went in and basically emptied out, cleaned out the building for the people to move in. And so I did the HR for all of them. And then after that, I used to work for or it used to be Arbitron, then Nielsen bought them over.
Yep.
But we did the ratings for the television and the radio.
Yep, I know what you're talking about too. Over there by where the Estrella TV is, maybe around that area.
Yeah, well, I heard that now they got bought over by another company.
Estrella,
is that who it is? Oh, okay.
Years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, whenever I left, it was still Nielsen. Nielsen had bought them over, and I think they were with them for like 2 to 3 years, and then that's whenever I had my oldest, and I
Okay, but you were still doing that, and then the modeling at that time. Okay, so you do the first photo shoot. It went great. You liked it. Kind of maybe a little opened up something for you. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then after that, when is the next few things that you get to do within the car scene?
So after that, okay, so through Joe, I met someone called Raphael. And so Raphael also saw something in me. I don't know what it was, but he also saw something in me as well as Joe did. And he is just all like, hey, you know, I want to try to like get you in front of the camera, but on the video side. You know, I know you're working with Joe on like photography, but like, are you interested in maybe like doing a few commercials or, you know, just doing more video work? And I'm like, well, I mean, I haven't done that before, but, you know, I'll give it a shot. So that was my next window open to, I did a Brian Loan Car commercial back whenever he was a attorney.
Yeah, big attorney.
Yes. So I did a commercial for him and I was on the Spanish side. So that was my very, very first commercial. I ended up doing my very first music video and it was, what was his name?
Local guy? Dallas?
Yeah, he's local. He's from Dallas, but I can't know.
Somewhat known, not too known.
Not too sure. I do know that like he sang, like he did create his own music and then he sang like in weddings and stuff, but I don't know how big he was.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, fast forward later on, the second music video that I did was for Caleb McIntyre, the country artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, wow.
I did his music video, and with his it was a total accident. One of my friends, which I actually met, and through him I got interested in the video side of it, because Raphael had got me connected to getting a few gigs like here and there, and one of the gigs that I ended up booking was a call girl, not that kind of call girl.
What kind of call girl?
But like, you know, like whenever you have a list of people, of all the actors that are about to like go behind and do their audition.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to call out their name and, you know, take them to the back and, you know, let them do their audition.
Oh, so you're part of the audition. You're the one that just calling them.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. That's why I said not that kind of call girl.
not that one.
But yeah. And so I ended up taking them and it was for a MTV commercial. So I was like looking, you know, through the little window how they did the audition and everything. And then the guy that was filming the auditions, you know, me and him became really cool because, I mean, we were pretty much working all day. And whenever they were reviewing the camera and like all the auditions, you know, he's just like, oh, you want to come see? And I'm like, sure. I'm like, if you don't mind, because I'm very...
He's so polite.
I'm kind of like nosy, I guess.
But you're so polite too, though.
Yeah. It's just like I want to see because I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah.
And so he let me see it and everything, and I just thought it was pretty awesome how like people were able to like, you know, give different moods. And I mean, I took them back there, so I got one side of them, and then whenever they did their audition, I got to see that side of them, and I just thought that was so cool. And from that point, that's whenever like the film industry started kind of like, you know, became a little bit interested in.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I'm like, that would be cool to do commercials, or that'd be cool to do movies. And that's like where it initially started, like the spark. Of course, I didn't think I was good enough, so I didn't pursue it. And I let a few time go by, and I just stuck to the modeling and just like, you know, a few like music videos and stuff like that. And then and then I ended up getting brave and, you know, stepping into that unknown and just trying it out. And ever since I did, I loved it.
Okay.
And now I'm hooked.
Before we go into that, what was the feeling like? What was it feeling like whenever you saw your very first commercial? For me, sometimes hearing me on the pod is not so cringy anymore, but it's a little cringy because I've been on TV before too. So I've been in big stuff. Y'all can find it, y'all can tag me on it, but I've been on big major networks before doing some stuff. So I was like, it's cringy whenever you, at least for me, and even hearing yourself or watching yourself, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But it's done. So I'm like, okay, it is what it is. How do you feel like whenever you saw your first commercial and it's playing on TV?
To be honest with you, it gives you like a sense of like accomplishment. Like, dang, I did that. Like, because whenever you're filming it, you're doing this take from this angle, this take from that angle, and this and that. Sometimes it gets to the point where you do repeat so many stuff that you're kind of like, oh man, we got to do it again, and stuff like that. But it's okay because every take that they're doing, they're trying to get a different expression out of you. So it may be like, it could be 2 takes, it could be 30 takes. It just depends on the vision of the director. Whatever they're trying to like get out of you or get out of the scene, they'll do as many takes until they're able to like put it together. And yeah, to me, it's just a sense of accomplishment because, you have to do so many retakes. You gotta like, do hair, do makeup, that deal with wardrobe, and then, deal with your lines and stuff like that. So, of course, once you see the final product, it's like that sense of accomplishment, like, yeah, all my hard work and it's finally here, I see it.
That's pretty cool. I like that. And I think it might be a Latino thing, where a Mexicano thing will be like, no sé, but le doy, a ver qué pasa. Let me give it a go. Let's see what happens. I don't, but let me try it. See what's up. And that's just can open up all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to me, honestly, like where that point came into play was whenever I felt like I basically had pushed myself in the back burner, and I was like, man, I need to start like putting myself first. And like, now that the kids are in school, like, let me see, what do I want? What do I want to do? Like, what are my passions? Like, there's something that like I need to pursue or need to chase that like keeps me happy. And this is what like accidentally kind of I stumbled upon, and it became my passion, and I've loved it ever since.
Okay. So today I heard that passion is something that you would willing to literally die for. There's a thing that you like something, and there's a thing that you're passionate for.
Yeah.
And again, you're willing to lose your life doing it. Is it something to get to that level for you?
Yeah. And to me, where I realized that it was at that level was after the car accident, because I was going through so much health-wise that in my brain, like, I didn't want myself to be an obstacle. Like, I refused that my health issues or like my vulnerability at that point in time to stop me from pursuing to continue to do acting, to continue to do what I love. So to be honest with you, like after my car accident, there's a few gigs that I did, and I'm not gonna lie,
Welcome. You are now to another episode of the Global Latino Podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Thank you very much for being here. We're doing another amazing solo episode. Back to the solo episodes. In today's episode, we have a mouth-watery experience, a dish that's going to have you look for it. Drum roll. Pupusas. Yes, the rich history and cultural significance of pupusas in today's episode. So stay tuned. If you like pupusas, comment right now. Today, we're diving into the rich, vibrant world of pupusas. They are a beloved dish in El Salvador. We explore the origin, evolution, cultural significance, characteristics of pupusa. Wherever you are, if you're either foodie or not, this episode is for you because you're going to learn more about it. First, the origin of pupusas, which is unclear, debated, and there's many different origins. Pupusas are significant in somewhat debated history and are believed to be from the indigenous Pipi tribe of El Salvador about 2,000 years ago. Despite the myth and contribution around the world, the origin is not really exactly of where it came from. However, they are originally from El Salvador. Most likely, though, the origin, however, Nahuatl language means stuff. Originally, they were made in a simple ingredient like corn masa filled with staples such as beans, squash, and herbs. Over time, however, as the new ingredients were introduced, the pupusas evolved. By the 1570s, meat such as pork became a common filling. Another alternative story, as I mentioned earlier, there's various and they're debatable. For instance, some believe that the pupusas were introduced by the Mayans and the Spanish civilization, which introduced the new ingredients like cheese, loroco, and tropical flower buds. I don't know if you knew that, but some of them were made. Another story involves the Salvadorian Civil War in 1980, where many Salvadorians fled the country, bringing pupusas from various parts of the world, spreading their popularity. Let's dive into the cultural significance and evolution of pupusas as a symbol of Salvadorian identity. Pupusas have become a symbol of Salvadoran identity. Why? Because they reflect a national diverse culture, heritage, and enjoyment by the Salvadoran community worldwide. Initially associated with a rural, lower class, pupusas gained popularity across social status. They are now a staple celebration, family gathering, and street food markets all over the world. The evolution over time, the art of making pupusa involved a skillful hand molding of masa into a thin, round dish, which then is filled with your desired ingredients. Pupusas are generally cooked in a hot grilled comal, and is achieved a golden brown perfection. Modern pupusas feature various fillings, including cheese, bean, chicharrón, which is fried pork, and revuelto, which is a mix of cheese, beans, and chicharrón. Now, characteristic of pupusas as a traditional dish, a pupusa is a thick grilled cake flat made with cornmeal or flour rice, similar to Colombian and Venezuelan arepas. Don't get them confused though. El Salvador has declared that the national dish of El Salvador is pupusas, and they are celebrated. We're going to tell you a fun fact about those. Pupusas are usually stuffed with ingredients such as cheese, refried beans, pork, squash. They are traditionally accompanied by curtido, a tangy cabbage slaw, and tomato salsa. Making pupusas could be simple, could be not. It just depends. Again, you have to be crafty. The process of making pupusas involves creating a masa dough with warm water stuffed with your filling and the cooking of it in the grill. Gotta have the perfect temperature. The result is a delicious savory that is just fulfilling and flavorful. I don't know if you ever had one, but if you do, drop a comment.
I know that you are definitely enjoying this episode today. Subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, and now back to the episode.
Pupusas in modern times and contemporary popularity. Today, pupusas have gained global recognition and are popular internationally as a cuisine and dishes all over. Restaurants and food trucks worldwide offer the unique take of the Salvadorian delight, introducing a new filling and fusion all over the world. So you don't have to have the regular pupusas nowadays. Pupusas continue to evolve while retaining their traditional roots, making them a cherished dish across the culture. Now, pupusa as a cultural and embedment within the community, within the Latino community. Pupusas represent the resilient creativity and cultural pride of El Salvador. They remain an integral part of the national celebration and cultural identity. Some fun facts about pupusas. El Salvador and Honduras both claim to have been the birthplace of pupusas. That's just what the internet says, people. Don't come after me. You tell me. If you know, let me know. Before civilization, pupusas were vegetarian and made with corn masa, squash, blossom, herbs, and mushrooms. That's before colonizing. Pupusas are the national dish of El Salvador, as I mentioned earlier, if you didn't know. And National Pupusa Day is celebrated on the second Sunday of November in El Salvador, where pupusas originated. The day is known as Día Nacional de la Pupusa. Again, Salvador claims, and they have a national day. Just to recap the episode of today, once again, we covered the delicious, amazing taste of pupusas. If you never had a pupusa before, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go try it right now. It's debated as far as where the origination came from, but it goes back all the way to 2,000 years ago, and the popularity in modern day is crazy. It's like pretty much you can't go anywhere without having a pupusa. trying a pupusa, having a pupusa. If you never had, I don't know what you're waiting for. Highly recommend. Go try a pupusa right now. And again, don't forget to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a comment. Let us know how we're doing on the podcast, on the solo episodes that we're doing now. Check out the website. We have merchandise. Join us on social media for any updates that we have. We post pretty much every day. And again, we thank you so much for enjoying. Big shout out going out to El Salvador. We're going to be playing some Salvadorian beats, hopefully with no copyright infringements here. There's YouTube. And again, we truly appreciate you tuning in. We're doing a solo episode, trying to bring them back, kind of add different content to the channel and keep those fun, just global Latin factor elements that we have, because we have so much history as far as Latinos. Pupusas being one of them, a staple that is all over the world. When we're talking about the global Latin factor, that's what we mean. We're all over the place with our contributions, such as pupusas. Pupusas became as a humble, just small, delicious dish, and then evolved to something that is global now. So that is amazing. Again, subscribe. Thank you very much for joining on another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Be sure to subscribe today. Join us. Check out the merchandise that we have. Grab yourself a beautiful shirt. And again, remember that we are just like you. We are humans. We are the spice in this melting pot that it is the world. Till next time.
Thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Global Latino Factor podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe to the channel and check out one of the other episodes that we have prepared for you. Thank you very much. Till next time.
Pero but in fact is a flamingo coming to Havana and reflecting.
Welcome you now to another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Thank you very much for being here. Make sure you go and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for the ones that you already have. To continue to follow the content, like us on all social media. Thank you so much, very, 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 very much. I really, truly appreciate it. Today, we have an amazing gentleman in the building. He is an expert in business process and analyst, nonprofit leader and advocate for the Hispanic community and Hispanic empowerment, and also a CEO for and owner of Marquez Foundation, and also a second generation business owner with expertise and experience in corporate and much more. Gilberto Ataide en la casa. How you doing?
Doing good.
And I forgot to mention, he's also part of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Forward Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, director,
Economic development.
Economic development. He has a lot of titles that I can't keep up.
No, thank you.
Pleasure meeting you at the chamber. And immediately when I talk to you, I'm like, man, this man has great knowledge, great resources. His heart is right as far as helping the Latino Hispanic community. And I thought you would be amazing to be here. So thank you very much for being here.
No, I appreciate it. It's great being here. I've been watching the show for a little bit. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, this is great. The format is great. So I was like, this is an honor.
Don't let him fool you. He used to have his own thing going on YouTube. You can find him. I've seen him. I've seen all the videos pretty much. Okay, we're going to start with a segment that I like to call Preguntas al Chile. Preguntas al Chile. If you like this, if you like that.
Preguntas al Chile.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
¿Estás listo?
I'm ready.
¿Tacos o tortas?
Tacos for sure.
Tacos.
Love tacos.
What kind? What'd you go to? ¿Qué tipo?
Tacos de bistec or al pastor. And
pastor.
typically, if I go to a place, I'm gonna try both just to see how it is. Because some
Which one?
places got really good al pastor tacos, but some places got, bistec. So.
So far, which is the best place you found that has the best tacos for you?
Oh, the best place is in Fort Worth on 7th Street in I forget, it's a little food truck there.
Yeah.
And there's always a huge line.
Does it got a name?
Salsa, no, limon something. It's not salsa limon, but it's something limon. I think I've seen it's always there on Saturday, 7th Street. If you're just passing by, like you'll see a huge line like around 12 o'clock.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you know you're in the right place. Corn tortilla, flour tortillas,
Corn tortillas.
gorditas or pupusas.
Ooh, that's a tough one because pupusas are good too. But gorditas for sure. Because I remember growing up and I had an aunt that used to sell gorditas. So it's nothing. When they're fresh, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, that's true. That
Yeah.
Mexican coca or jarrito.
Probably coca.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Mexican coca. Yeah, they do have a different flavor than the American coca.
Yeah.
Or agua de horchata, Jamaica or tamarindo.
Oh, that's a good one too. Definitely agua de horchata though.
Yeah,
Yeah, it goes. I think it goes better with the tacos.
with the tacos.
Yeah.
What is? Let me ask you this: what is the best water you had so far? From what place?
Ooh. There's a place in Arlington, and it's a taqueria on Pioneer. It's a little like a little place. I don't even know if they have a name, but it's been there a really long time. And they have the best salsa because it's really, really spicy. And they also have the best aguas. They have a couple, but the agua de horchata there is so good.
You like the mom and pops, the little hole in the walls that
Oh,
can nobody
yeah.
find. That's the way
Oh, yeah.
where you find the best food.
My dad used to come home from like panaderias. There's a lot of panaderias that sometimes serve food.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so, brisket tacos, brisket burritos are good too, from several different panaderias that we've had. But for sure, the little hole in the walls.
Well,
man,
you
can
consider
find-
yourself a foodie, somewhat of a foodie, trying to discover some of the good spots.
Maybe a little bit. I try not to go to like the franchises if I can
Yeah.
avoid it. You know.
That's what.
Yeah, if with the client or something, then yeah, we'll go somewhere a little bit more well known. But if it's by myself, I'm going to little places that nobody goes to.
What I tell you, man, this man be supporting the community. Okay, check it out. Salsa verde or salsa roja?
I like both, but salsa verde.
Salsa
Gotta go with
verde.
that. Yeah.
Team salsa verde all day, every day.
Yep.
Okay. Menudo or pozole?
I like both too, but I'm gonna go with menudo.
Yeah.
Menudo on the weekends or Sunday mornings. I think it hits the spot.
Okay. Another one. Where's your favorite spot to get some menudo locally in Fort Worth?
It's a lady that makes it on Sundays, and she delivers. So we'll put an order in, and sometimes she'll bring it out to us.
That's super low key.
Yeah.
That is the best one. Somebody still is getting down somebody's mom with the amazing thing. You
Yep.
can't get it nowhere. It's the best.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do they give you so when I got here to the States, it's the first time I ever tried menudo, but they used to give with tostadas.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know there's people that like bolillo or mantequilla or tortillas. What do you prefer?
With bolillo for sure, and usually without the hominy. I just like the meat,
Yeah.
and yeah, it hits the spot.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
like the hominy. Not no more though. I retired menudo, but I used to like the hominy.
Yeah.
Valentina Tapatio Cholula hot sauce.
Oh, just because I love chips and Valentina.
Why? Right?
Yeah, you can put Valentina and everything, but Valentina, when you have chips and Valentina, that's
Do you ever throw a limon there?
I
Have you ever had it?
I've had it like that, but I think it's just good, just like that. And it's really because it's nostalgic. When I was a kid, and I would visit. Both my parents are from Zacatecas, and we'd go every summer. And I just remember getting the next door because they have like little stores everywhere.
Tienditas everywhere.
Yeah, tienditas everywhere. So next door, you go and get your chips and salsa, or after soccer games, or after like all the time.
Was it the chips, the packaged chips, or was it the bolsita de plástico with the salsa?
If it was cueritos, it's with the con la bolsa, like, and you put
Like
it
a
in
clear
there.
bag
Yeah,
of
like a clear
plastic.
bag.
Yeah.
And they used to serve the Coke in the plastic bag too.
Oh yeah. They
Yeah.
still do.
They still do.
Yeah, you'll find it some places. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
so I was like that. I don't know. It would always just hit the spot.
So I wonder if. Okay, so I think it makes sense now that the bolsita with the soda is most likely a 2 liter, and they just break it down into.
Yeah,
You know,
little
made me
parts.
think, why would they want to open a Coca, put it in a bag, and then give it to people?
Entrepreneurs,
I
they're
don't know.
trying to make
Bro,
money.
see, the most. Norteñas or mariachi music, which one do you like best?
I think mariachi music when it's a celebration, but norteñas if you're trying to party.
Trying that. That's all night long.
Yeah.
This was way different, way off, not even the same client. Just like to entertain, it's a fun question. A conspiracy theory that you heard one time, when you heard, you're like, man, I think that's true. Well, it might be true. What would that be?
Yeah, and I'm usually not big into conspiracies, but I saw the assassination of JFK, and I've always felt like this is kind of weird that nobody found out. Well, they say it was Oswald, right?
Right.
But it seemed kind of off. Like we visited the place, and I mean, it was like it's crazy that nobody really like saw it.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know, like JFK was kind of progressive maybe, and I was like, you never know, it might could have been an inside job.
So when you were in there and you were trying to assess everything, like the math is not math in here.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know about this one.
Could be.
Yeah.
When you hear the word Latino, Latinx, Latina, what immediately first comes to mind to you?
Culture, music, art. I think just the way we kind of express ourselves.
Right.
But I think a combination of everything, just the culture, just the food, just how we set ourselves apart.
Absolutely. Do you consider yourself Latino? Do you mind the term? Do you prefer Hispanic more? Mexicano? What is better for you, or does it matter to you?
I think all three is fine, but if someone were to ask me, I would say I'm probably Mexican American, or I am Mexican American.
You are Mexican American.
Yeah, Mexican American, Mexican roots, but I grew up here. I know the culture here, and I know the culture in Mexico too, but Mexican American, a combination of both.
Chicano doesn't ring a bell to you as far as that you?
I think when I was growing up, I think that was a term that I would say I'm Chicano, but I guess lately people don't use it as much, or at least not in Texas. I've heard that maybe in California they use it a lot more, but recently I think it's kind of been going away. And but I mean, if someone called me Chicano, I wouldn't mind it either.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
pretty cool.
Chicano. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the interview and get to know more about you. Again, I just know that you do great work. Immediately when I saw you, not to mention the things that I've been looking into as far as what you've been doing. But let me just touch a little bit on your family. So your family's from Zacatecas. Do you happen to know their journey? Do they have an interesting story? How your parents, how your mom got to the States?
Yeah, so both of them got to the United States in the early 20s. I actually, my mom lived in El Paso. She married somebody that was a resident in El Paso, or a citizen in El Paso. And she lived there until I was about 3 years old. But during that time, there was some issues. He actually got involved with the wrong people, and he got locked up. So she moved to Irving, Texas, and with her sister. Her sister had married a guy that was from her hometown, which is Rio Grande, Zacatecas, and he had a brother, and that they were living together, and she ended up marrying her sister's husband's brother.
Wow!
So it was two sisters with two brothers, and he raised me since I was 3 years old. So I call him dad.
Okay.
So if you see my socials and everything, I'm Ataide, but my mom, my stepdad, and my siblings are all Marquez.
Marquez.
Which led to Marquez Foundation.
Okay, so we will talk about that as well.
Yeah.
When you get a chance, take some pics. Oh, you could leave it open. We ain't gonna go cut nothing. Just kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, did you ever have any reconnection with your biological father? Was there anything?
No, I did not, and I think part of me wanted at one point in my life wanted to reach out because just wanted to know who I was, and maybe if I can find family members, but part of me was also not wanting to reach out because out of respect to my stepdad.
Gotcha.
He raised me. I call him dad. He calls me son.
Of course, absolutely.
So it was like I never really had that need because I got everything from my stepdad.
Yeah, that's
so,
amazing.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I really respect that a lot.
I appreciate you sharing because I know there's people that have similar stories, and I know I hear sometimes you hear on social media people talking about sometimes they have the urgency, but it's great that everything was provided to you out of respect of everything that he provided to you, even some of the drive that you have. I'm pretty sure that's something that shaped you to be the person you are.
That came from him for sure.
Yeah. Another thing that I find interesting about what you're telling me is like for some Latinos, some Hispanic people, they're not willing to share a story like that. Like your mom willing to say that.
Oh, yeah.
It will be like a secret, and nobody will ever know that happened.
Yeah.
Well, how I'm guessing your relationship with your mom is great that she was willing to open up and not keep it a secret, not ever be known that things like that happen.
Yeah. Well, I for sure when I was growing up, maybe it was like 5th or 6th grade, I had a different last name. So it did prompt me to start questioning things a little bit. I'm like, why do I have a different last name? Like, this kind of doesn't make sense. And so it did get to a point where she had to have the conversation and be like, hey, well, this is kind of what happened. And I started asking more questions. And that's when I started to find out, like, what it was. But there was no resentment or anything. I mean, I grew up happy. Both of my parents, I think, were very supportive.
Yeah.
And they just did what they had to do to keep moving forward. And sometimes when I hear some of their like the journey or the struggle, it is what motivates me, because if you think about it, they came from Mexico not knowing people, not knowing the language, not knowing the culture, not knowing any kind of resources, and they got to figure it out. They had to come here, try to figure it out, and somehow they made it work.
Yeah.
My dad was in construction for maybe 15 years, digging holes. Like, foundation repair is a tough job.
Yeah.
Digging holes all the time. And I think about that, and sometimes, like, you're like, man, I get to go to a job where I have AC all day. That's a blessing. That in itself, I think, is a blessing. And he tells me all the time, he was like, it must be nice having a little office job. And I was like, well,
you did a great work. You did a great job erasing me and do better for myself. Just advance.
Exactly. But that was because of him,
Yeah, of course.
I think he kind of understood how I was growing up, and he would challenge me a lot of times. And so I would go to work with him during the summer times, and he would tell me, I was like, look, if you don't want to get stuck here doing what I'm doing, you got to go to school and get a degree and got to figure something else out.
Yeah.
And that kind of prompted me I was probably like 12 years old when I started helping him out with a couple of things.
Okay. Before I jump off that subject, so when you had the conversation of that, how old were you at that time when you had that conversation? And was there, depending on how old you are, either you understand it, you don't understand it, or what's happening. I know you said there was no resentment. Was there anything in there for you that helped you push through, like, this is what life is for me right now?
Yeah, no, I was maybe like 12 years old. Remember, at 12 years old, I didn't really grasp it. Like, I was like, okay, I guess that is what it is. And then when you start getting older, that's when I started realizing, I was like, oh, there was a lot going on,
Yeah.
There was a lot going on, and I can't imagine being in my mom's shoes, single mom, and, not knowing anybody or the language. And she actually did get a job as a housemaid in El Paso at one point. Wow. So she was, she used to tell me all the time that, she lived in the house that she was working in, because I think it was more common back in the days. And she would just tell me, she would put me on a crib and just put something for me to play with and just say, all right, just don't make a lot of noise. Wow. And I was a really quiet kid, so
that's great.
It worked out. But it is kind of crazy to think, like, what she had to go through.
Absolutely. Shout out to your moms. Okay, so your dad encouraged you, he pushed you to go to school, so they were pretty encouraging as far as for you to get an education, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's because really my dad knew how to push my buttons a little bit, and he knew I was kind of competitive. And so it did get to a point where I was like, all right, Dad, I'm looking for colleges. I'm applying for this. And then I told him the price of some of those colleges. And then he basically flat out said, well, that's a lot of money. I can't pay for that. So you got to figure that out. And I was like, and if you can't, so it was weird because he would push me to go towards it. Then he was like, all right, now figure this out. And but that did encourage me. And so right after high school, I went to Midwestern State, and because I saw how much he did in a business, because and let me retract a little bit. He actually worked like 15, 16 years on his own for a foundation repair company, and then with his friends, he started his company, his foundation repair business. And
What is their name?
Juan Marquez, my dad, and Raul Lopez was probably his long-term associate. They still work together. And so they started that business, and I was like 13, 14 years old, and I was helping. Actually, that's when you remember that software program Paint?
No, I don't.
You
It
don't?
doesn't ring a bell right now.
You know?
But
So was it Microsoft? Anyways, it's a software Paint.
it sounds like Paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a Microsoft program.
Yeah, and so I used to draw like little layouts and stuff
Yeah.
on there, and he
Yeah.
was like, draw me a little layout because they want this contract or whatever, and I was putting, it was basically like a little box and some circles where we're gonna dig the
And that's
holes.
what they presented?
That's how I presented it. And
Really?
he was getting jobs. That's pretty crazy.
That's worked. It worked.
It worked.
Imagine another competitor doesn't have that, and even if it's just like not crazy
something small.
complicated,
Yeah.
but still more of a visual to the customer. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. So I've seen contracts. Actually, I've seen some houses where we issue out like a warranty. And I've seen some houses where they have that warranty, and it's my dad's signature from like 15 years ago.
Are you
I was like,
serious?
this is crazy.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
So
What
it's
was the
pretty
name
cool.
of their company?
It's always been Marcus Foundation.
Marcus Foundation?
Yeah, Marcus Foundation Repair. And then when I opened mine, tribute to him, I said, I'm just going to put it Marcus Foundation.
Marcus Foundation.
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember talking to you a little while back in regards to your journey of going to school, because I don't know if there was anybody that was helping you through either scholarships, if you were working, or how is it? Where did you find the, if it was anybody to help you to kind of sort of guide you to where you needed to go to get either financial aid, or I'm pretty sure I don't know if you were the first one in your family to go to college, but there's a lot of things to figure out if you're the first one.
Yeah, I was the first one. A lot of stuff I had to kind of figure out on my own. But I always had that notion. I was like, I got to go find the answers. So I did participate in a program in high school where they, visit different colleges. And you kind of get an idea, like each college has a different culture. So you got to go one that'll fit you.
Yeah.
And I was looking more for like smaller universities. But it's intimidating because we didn't really have a lot of money growing up.
Right.
And I'm sitting there applying for colleges, and then they say, okay, you're applying for this financial aid, and the university is going to be like $10,000 a year or something. And as a kid, you really don't understand, especially if you come from a family that doesn't know, you don't really understand how much you're putting yourself into. You're like, I don't know how much $10,000 is, or $50,000 if I'm doing like a 4-year program. And so
Right now it's super cheap though, but can I get those throwback prices back?
Yeah. But it's crazy. And then so I really just took a leap of faith, and I was like, okay, I'll just we'll apply for this financial aid. We'll apply for this loan. Luckily, my first year was paid off because I had the Pell Grant, and there was a lot of things that helped me out, like a lot of things, because the Pell Grant was one. Maybe even like affirmative action a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I went to a majority minority school.
Okay.
And I wasn't isn't not a lot that you can put on a resume when you're applying for a college or university, or at least I didn't have that at the time.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't as studious as I guess I am now. Like I kind of changed that over the past couple of years. But I did, I was good at testing, and that's what helped me out, and I was right there on that margin.
So for you, okay, because I was the same way. I didn't no extracurricular besides soccer.
That's what I had.
No need to go into
Yeah.
be part of this group, be part of that group. It's just nothing
Yeah.
for me like that. Did that really, in your experience, for anybody that's applying for college, how important is it for you to be able to get those things? Because I didn't even know you needed a resume to go to college to get it ready for you to submit, so they can even look at you and see if they're able to accept. I'm just thinking they want your money, but that's not the case, right?
No, I mean, it does help out because I think it more so helps out on you in expanding your choices. Because when I was applying, I didn't even know what, like I applied for a business to a business school,
Right.
but I didn't know the difference between marketing and accounting and anything else. I just knew I was like, okay, business, you know? And I think if you participate in like extracurricular things or you're volunteering in the community, you get to meet a lot of people in different career fields. And that's the one thing I did not have at all.
So just having those conversations with different people doing different things would have opened your eyes to different stuff that you could have applied for.
Yeah, absolutely. Different professions, different ideas. Maybe I didn't need to go to college. You know, maybe I did need to like just work with another entrepreneur for a couple of years or something and just kind of go from there. But I'm glad I made the choice. And when I was in college, I actually learned a lot about myself. I realized I had no idea how to study. Like my first semester was terrible. And I had to change that. I talked to a few people in the dorms because I lived in the dorms. And I realized that my study technique was I had to read one page, write notes, and then just go through the whole chapter or book. And then to study, I would go back and just highlight the things that were important and then make additional notes on my notes. This means that, or this means that. And then I'm digesting it. And that was the way I learned all 4.5 years. That's how I studied.
Who was the one that introduced you to that method or realized that that's the way for you was the best way for you to learn?
It was a good friend of mine that I met in the dorm rooms.
Yeah.
I know there was so Jared Smythe, if he's watching, yeah. So he kind of helped a little bit with that, and it was really just talking to different people. I was like, hey, what do you do? And started forming like study groups, and that's when I realized like study groups help out a lot too because you get the perspective of someone else when they think like I read this and this is what I think it means, and then you're like, oh, you know what, you might be right, and so then you write that on your notes, and you're like. And when you're going through the exams, you're comparing and contrasting and trying to figure out like what's the best fit.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there was a professor that was tricky though. That he would give you a question that was like a paragraph long. I remember this in my marketing class, like a paragraph long, and then he would give you like 6 or 7 different answer choices, and then he would ask you which one's the best answer. And you're sitting there looking at that question like all of them seem right. Like which one's the best one? So I think when you start having that dialogue with somebody else, that's what really helps because you're like, okay, this makes more sense because X, Y, and Z. You know, you're
Just
really...
little phrases, little words that makes a difference to be like, yeah, this will be the best.
Absolutely.
Man.
Yeah, it was tough.
Were you working at that time also, or were you just depending on financial aid, loans, or different things that you got?
Yeah, I was working at Sears most of the 4 years.
Oh, nice.
Do they still have Sears?
Yeah,
I
there
think
still is a
there's-
few. They
there's
call
a few.
it something freight now. Freight something.
Yeah, I was working.
It's a different story now. It's something freight something. Freight harbor.
Freight Harbor.
Or harbor freight. One of the two. It's a Sears store technically.
Yeah. So I worked at Sears, and I actually really liked working there because I got introduced into sales at Sears.
So what department were you?
At first, I started out as a cashier,
Uh-huh.
and they had little incentives like if you sign people up for credit cards, you get $5 or $10. And so I had a part-time job. I was like, I mean, every person that comes in here, I'm gonna try to offer it.
Every little money helps.
Yeah, little
especially
money.
when you go to school, you know. It could be the
Exactly.
difference between having a Maruchan of sopa or maybe McDonald's for that day.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Like I was thinking about it like that because sometimes I would even budget out my week, and let's just say I wanted to have spaghetti. I would say, okay, the spaghetti is gonna cost me $10, and it's gonna be about 3 meals, and so each one of my meals is gonna be at $3. And I would think about it like that because I was like, I gotta make sure I have enough at the end of the week.
When did you start realizing that budgeting was a thing that you need to implement as you're doing your a student and being a college student at that time? Who introduced you to that, or you just think about like I need to be able to be better with my money to structure it correctly, otherwise I'm not gonna have a meal.
Yeah. I think it was just I knew I had to do it. I knew how to do it, especially after the first year. So my first year was paid off and everything, but the second year I was like, I gotta make sure I'm a lot more in tune on how am I spending on everything. And I didn't have a lot, so I had to make sure that I gotta have enough to eat, you know. And so so I gotta get better at selling credit cards, and I gotta budget a lot better.
But then they offer you a position to do another sales job there, or just the credit card part?
Yeah, so I got so good at selling credit cards. They were like, we got to put you on a sales team. And then I started selling, I got moved into electronics. And I started selling TVs, and I started selling some dishwashers and stuff, but mostly TVs. TVs was my thing. Like, if anybody could ask me anything about TVs, I had it down.
Was it plasmas at that time, or was it?
There was.
The plasmas are freaking heavy things.
They're heavy.
Don't leave it on the same screen. You'll regret it.
There was plasmas. I think LEDs were being introduced, and they had some LEDs. But the thing that helped me out there a lot, too, was because I knew English and Spanish, and I had both types of clientele coming in. Yeah, so I did really, really well. So 4-hour shift, you sell one TV, you're making, your good $200, $300 for that day.
Just like that.
Yeah, so it was nice.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So you fast forward 3 years now. Okay, one more question before that. During that time, college students, maybe you're away from the house. Maybe you never had freedom before. Are you trying to focus? But there's a lot of distractions. How did you keep being disciplined, or just knowing that you needed to stay focused on school and not be distracted with maybe partying or not? Or maybe, you put it in the budget.
Yeah.
And you were able to get out, to celebrate here and there.
Yeah. And I did go out. It got to a point where when I was doing better in sales, I did get a chance to go out a couple of times, but
that could jeopardize your studies too, though. So you have to have a balance.
Oh, absolutely. You have to have that balance. What helped me out a lot is I just hung out with the right people. There's some people that won't make it to 4.5 years. And so I just wanted to make sure I hung out with people who are like dedicated to finishing, and that they have a balance, and it helped me out too, because they're not encouraging me like, hey, let's go do this. And the other thing is just making sure that you just have that discipline to go home every single day after class and take the time to study a couple of hours.
Where does those things come from? Because I know you say those are decisions that you're making, but the budgeting part, the hanging around with the right crowd, where does that mentality comes from? Where did you hear it? Did your parents, anybody?
Yeah, I think on the back of my head, I was like, if I fail college, I am 10, 15, 20K down the hole, and then I have to go home and tell people I didn't make it, and then you have to get a job and try to figure it out. And I was like, I just didn't want to, I want to give myself the best chance. I didn't want to come home and look like, I just couldn't make it, and I didn't like that feeling. So I was like, nah, there's no matter what, I have to figure it out. I have to make it. And that kept pushing me forward. And I was like, I keep getting better.
I get it makes me think of something that happened when I was in the military, and I joined the military. I was working at a grocery store, and then one of the cashiers there, she was somebody I knew, and she said, oh, if you make it, it'll be okay. And it wasn't like I was trying to prove it wrong, but I'm like, even though when it got difficult, I'm like, I'm not about to go home and tell them that I failed out of boot camp and I couldn't make it out. Like, irrelevant to hers. Yeah. But just the thought of it'll be okay to come back and nothing. No, that was not going to be an option. Yeah. And so whatever I could, I pushed through the pain, the yelling, whatever. Yeah. And it's the same thing. Why would I don't want to come back and be a failure. I know it'll be all right, but still, no, it just wasn't an option.
Yeah, so I was like, I got to give it my best, and this the last thing that I'm going to do is to leave,
That's awesome.
To quit.
How does it feel whenever you know you got enough credits, everything's getting set up, you're starting to go through arrangements of getting everything situated for your graduation? How does it start feeling for you? And finally, when you get to walk to the stage, when you get to call your mom, your dad, and let them know, hey, I'm going to graduate. Yeah. And can I make some arrangements to be there, or were they able to even be there?
Yeah. They did attend. It definitely was the best feeling in the world. But I got chills whenever they're doing the speech, the graduation speech. Mm-hmm. And the guy, and I forget his name, but it was a professor that he talked about, you guys, when you leave here, you're not just leaving here with a diploma, a degree, or a better job. Mm-hmm. But moving forward, you guys are the leaders in the community, and it's up to you to shape it how you want. And it gave me chills, and I was like,
chills too, bro. Just the way you saying it.
Yeah. Like, so I was like, you know what? He's right. And when I go back to my community, and I grew up in a neighborhood that's mostly Hispanic dominant. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dang, I am a leader. Like, I do have to set an example, and it's another added pressure after you graduate. Mm. And that kind of helped me shape my career.
And what do your parents, your dad and your mom say whenever they...
Oh, they're super proud. super proud. Definitely, my mom was crying a lot when I left because I was there full time, and but after they were really really proud.
Yeah.
And it was actually crazy because as soon as I got done graduating, my dad was like, well, maybe we could switch your last name to Marquez. And I started bawling because it was like the first time I felt like, I don't know, I had accomplished something and I made the family proud. So it was like a little sense of like belonging.
Yeah.
And so it was a really, really great feeling.
Awesome. I can sense it. I can feel it
Yeah.
on you, how beautiful that moment was for you.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Okay, so you get to I always find it funny to me when jobs require you experience when you just first graduate. It's like a catch-22. How am I going to have experience with anything if I'm just barely graduating and have my degree, I have the degree, but of course I don't have no work experience because I'm a bit busy with schooling. So they require some of the experience. So how was the struggle for you to try to find something? Because eventually you did find a job, right?
Oh yeah, eventually found it, but it wasn't something that I was planning. And I actually, right after college, I was really disappointed because I could not find a job. My focus was marketing, and I actually thought about doing design and working for this different marketing agencies.
Yeah.
And I went to an interview. The guy was kind of rude. He went through a couple of questions.
Yeah.
And after he went through those questions, at the end of the interview, I remember him saying, he said, I interview these students from locally, and they all gave me terrible answers. I thought you'd be different because you're coming from a different city or from like Wichita Falls at the time. I was like, dang, that's messed up. So it's like a punch in the gut, like a reality check that I have not made it anywhere. Even after this degree, I have to figure this out again.
So did you even finish the interview with that gentleman? Or you just walked out of a couple questions?
No, after a couple of questions, he basically said, okay, I'm I was like,
even more rude.
Yeah, he was rude.
Straight up.
And he got up, and so I was like, dang, that was messed up. So I left, like, just thinking, like, what happened,
Yeah.
What happened? What am I doing wrong? My parents don't really have a lot of connections, so I really do have to start applying everywhere. And then with that added pressure that now I'm in a lot of debt and I got to figure out how to pay this off in the next 6 months, or at least start paying it off in 6 months. And so it was pretty tough, but I remember I was good in sales. I was like, all right, I'll take a sales position.
Right.
And eventually I found I started working at
Welcome you and all to another episode of the Global Latin Factor Podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Thank you very much. You already know the motto. Why? Because you are subscribed. If you are not subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. Support the community. Get these stories out there. These beautiful stories of amazing Latinos with a great representation of our community out to the world today. Make sure you subscribe. Today we have an amazing individual. I met him at one of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce events. He wasn't even a member at that time. Going forward, now today he is a member, but he's been doing his thing for some time. He is a founder and marketing strategist for Hispanos Marketing. He grew up in Pleasant Grove, and can you believe it or not, he lived out of his car for almost a year. That's right. And now he owns his own company. So far, his company, Hispanos Marketing, has helped over 1,000 Latino-owned businesses with design, strategy, consulting, and online resources. El señor, or the young gentleman, Cristian Rocha, a.k.a. Chris Rocha en la casa. Hola.
Hi, how's it going? Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. I don't know which one to look at, but
You can look at me, but if you want to, that camera will be yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's we met at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Absolutely.
Kind of we chatted up a bit, and we were like, hey, we vibed right away. And but yeah, thank you for the invite, man. It's really an honor to be here, man.
He was actually inviting himself quite a
Yeah,
bit.
I know.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that so much. The eagerness, the hunger
Yeah.
of you wanting to be out there, having your message across because you're
Yeah.
so passionate about your company. It got me excited
to have you here because you were really into it, and I appreciate it. Not at all, because you get too occupied sometimes. You're doing things and that, and then sometimes you might miss an opportunity. If you see it, you want to be it. You got to take the initiative to make it happen, right? So I appreciate it so much.
Oh yeah,
nothing like that. I really do appreciate
No,
it.
for sure. And I think what I saw and what interested me the most about what you do and what you're doing is just that the consistency with all aspects of what you're doing, right? The consistency and the posting. I see you always come up on my social media on the reels and just the quality of what you got going on here. It's those are the type of people that I think I like surrounding myself with and working with. And when I saw your stuff and I met you, I was like, it's the go-to guy. And I invited myself a couple times. I was like, can we please make a podcast?
We'll go make it happen.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to go ahead and continue with a segment that I like to call Preguntas al Chile. Now is the time to subscribe. I don't know what you're waiting for. You're letting us down when you don't do it. I'm not going to make you feel bad. I'm trying to make you feel bad. But you already know it helps us. It's for free. Go ahead.
Yeah.
¿Estás listo?
Subscribe.
Ready. ¿Estás listo?
Ready.
Tacos o tortas?
So, I saw a couple of the podcasts. I went back and I did some research and I noticed that everybody says tacos.
Yeah.
And they don't show love to the tortas.
Yeah.
I'm going to show some love today and say tortas.
Tortas, it is. What kind of torta?
Anything that has fajita, aguacate, queso, crema, you can't go wrong with crema and jalapeno. That's just me.
That's just the right combo for you?
Yeah.
Nice. Corn tortilla, flour tortilla.
We'll take some harina. I like corn, but some harina. A veces estoy a dieta, so sometimes, I gotta go harina.
All right. Gorditas or pupusas?
Latino and me, Mexican, gorditas. We're gonna do some gorditas.
Gorditas. Have you ever had pupusas? Have you had?
Yeah. There's this. Yeah. I love pupusas. I love baleadas. I don't know. Baleadas are not Salvadorian, right? They might be.
It's not clicking on me right now.
But baleadas and pupusas are foods that are not traditionally Mexican that I love. Yeah. Especially because it has sour cream and all that stuff. Yeah.
All right. I have to look it up. Baleadas. I know I heard it before. I just can't. It's not ringing into my.
It's kind of like a tortilla de harina con crema, queso, y frijolito. It's like really, really simple, but it hits the spot every time. Yeah.
Okay. Mexican coca or jarritos?
Let's do some jarritos.
Jarritos. ¿Qué sabor? What flavor?
Naranja.
Yeah. Agua de horchata, Jamaica, or tamarindo?
I'd go with the horchata. For sure. Yeah.
What is the best horchata you had so far? From where? What place?
So I don't know a lot of places out. So I moved a little bit away from Pleasant Grove. Originally, I'm from Pleasant Grove, as you mentioned. That's my hood, my barrio. So there's a lot of small little spots that are like kind of like in the hood. So usually anything in Pleasant Grove is a go-to place for tacos. Agua de horchata, for sure. Yeah.
Nice. Make sure you stop by Pleasant Grove.
Yeah, Pleasant Grove.
We do have some.
Yeah, during the daytime.
Makes you nervous sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, salsa verde, salsa roja. Do you even like spice?
Yeah, I love spicy food. I grew up with my dad cooking the most amazing hot sauce, the habanero sauce. So anything spicy, man, go to. Yeah.
So it's like serrano, jalapeno, and then habanero.
We're going to the top, straight top. Yeah, habanero.
Man. Menudo or pozole?
Do some pozolito. Pozolito's always good. Sometimes whenever you're not feeling too hungry,
Now pozole, they got the red one, they have the green one, or sometimes the white one. Which one do you prefer?
Green one. We could do green. We could do a little bit of everything. When it comes to Mexican food, man, anything, I'll eat it all.
But pozole with some tostadas or some flautas acompañadas.
¿Y de tomar?
Y un jarrito de tamarindo.
No he comido, Ahorita nos vamos a aventar
unos tacos. Okay, Valentina, Tapatio, or Cholula hot sauce.
So those are not spicy to me.
At all.
At all. So, but if I were to choose Valentina's to go to, you put that on those nachos, chips. But I'd go straight habanero sauce, man.
So do you get Yucateco? You like that one?
Yeah.
That's
You
to go.
The one that like one. Te hace llorar, bro. That you're sweating and burning calories. That's my hot sauce.
It tastes good still.
Yeah.
I like it.
Good pain.
Cumbia or salsa dancing?
I'll be honest. I'm not a dancer. I can't dance
at all.
I have 2 left feet.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you discover that?
When I tried to. I tried to practice on my own. Have you ever try to impress someone on a date and you kind of practice and rehearse before?
Yeah.
That was me. I was like, what if for whatever reason she wants to dance, and then I put some music on. I was like, I'm bad at this. I'm bad at this. So I was like, let's just not do that on the first date. Let's just go get some coffee or something. But yeah, but I like cumbia. My family's from Monterrey. I have from family Monterrey, Nuevo León y Tampico, Tamaulipas.
Nice.
So Monterrey se escucha mucho la cumbia. Mucha cumbia.
Mucha cumbia de todo tipo.
Yeah.
Okay. a conspiracy theory that you heard one time. When you heard, you're like, that has to be true.
So the one thing about me, man, I could go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, man. I live for conspiracy theories. I watch this YouTube channel called the Y Files, and they just go down and they kind of talk about everything from the moon landing was fake to reptilians, living in the center of the earth, from the moon being hollow. But I think the one that I sometimes think about and doesn't let me sleep is the moon landing was fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was telling somebody there's a new movie coming out about the moon landing and everything. The hollow moon thing.
That's a good one too.
I've seen a bunch of videos.
And there's actually some docs out there that say how the government actually they purposely launched a satellite to crash into the moon.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of surprised that they heard like a really, really long ringing.
It rang for a long time.
Yeah.
Like
you know about this, so you go all in too, huh?
I saw the same one.
What about you? What's your conspiracy theory? The one that you're just like, this has to be true.
You know what? I just recently went to the Sphere. I was sharing this with the last gentleman here, the Sphere in Vegas.
Yeah.
And you always hear about the Matrix, and this is all maybe this is not real, whatever. It's a bunch of glitches, whatever. When I was there,
do you believe that?
Well, when I was there, and the way that the presentation is, it's like a movie, but it's a presentation. The whole thing, you're just like literally. It feels like you're in the middle, and everything's playing out. Like it feels like a freaking Matrix. Like this is not real.
It makes you wonder, right? Like if we get too advanced, or if we ever get so advanced to the point where we could recreate what we're living now, then it makes you wonder, well, did somebody recreate our reality?
Well, this one ties to, because even the smells and the feeling of it, right? The wind, the temperature.
So you experienced that inside of the...
Yes.
I've never been there.
You feel all that. So with that theory, there's other stories I heard before of other advanced civilizations being here even before us, or being here prior to us. So that ties to that one, and then maybe even a higher intelligence even creating something that could be something like this.
I've seen, to me it becomes one of those things where I just kind of, once you start going down the rabbit hole, you're just like, okay, there's more. One of the things that really catches my attention with what you're just saying about the advanced civilization is a lot of these ancient writings with like even the Aztecs, right? They kind of documented certain stories about like certain beings from like
people from the stars and a great flood, and all of them. Every single civilization pretty much has the same story about the same thing. How crazy is it that right now we can't easily share it in other stuff, and other people around the world, they can see it, right?
Yeah.
But how crazy is it? The same cataclysm, the same people from the sky, they're all being documented in like tablets and stuff like that,
and it's from places like far across from each other that could have not had like immediate contact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
I'm just saying.
We're gonna go down the
gotta
road.
believe. When you hear the word Latino, Latina, Latinx, what immediately comes to mind to you?
I think Latino is a word that I think growing up, more than anything, I think here in the U.S., the most common thing even in schools is Hispanic, right? That's kind of the term that I think we even have to fill that out when we like are going to test
the paperwork.
Hispanic,
I think so.
Latino.
I think so too.
But for me, I mean, it just reminds me of like really everything that we go through as Latinos,
right?
And just even the sacrifice as well that our parents have gone through. So I think the word Latino it just kind of brings a lot of pride of like, I'm a Mexican, proud Mexican, and it just reminds me of like the shared experiences that we all have, I think.
Awesome. Do you consider yourself Latino? Do you prefer Hispanic, Mexican? The rapper face.
I know.
Mexican.
Hey, we had to touch that, man. The rapper version of you that I saw on YouTube.
Yeah,
go check him out. He's on YouTube. I'd say Mexican. I think the word Mexican or just telling people I'm Mexican, it's like a sense of pride that you're just like, and I think as Mexicans we're like proud of it, because we understand what comes with it, the sacrifice that our parents go through. So I think for me it's just like I'm Mexican. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I've had people that get mad at me when I say that I'm Mexican, which is weird. Some people are like, no, you're not Mexican, you're American, you're born here. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like, my parents are Mexican, like Mexican-American, I guess.
They'll tell other people that he see you and all they see is somebody that's from Mexico, even though
exactly, right? It's like, well, to everybody else, I look brown, bro. But yeah, I've ran across people like that they're like, no, tú di que tú eres americano. I'm just like, all right.
Yeah, and Chicano, does that ever resonate with you at all?
No,
Not even?
no. I think just because I'm fluent in Spanish. I'm
Uh-huh.
fluent in Spanish, and I grew up speaking it. I'm not an Osabo kid. No offense, right? I love my Osabo people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think for me it was important to speak it just because my dad didn't really speak English very well, and then my mom understood English, but she spoke to us in Spanish. Nos
Yeah.
inculcaron desde chiquitos, like, hey, speak Spanish. Aquí en la casa se habla español.
Y-
So for me that
imagínate-
resonates a lot.
Imagínate qué valioso es eso ahora en día, que puedes hacer los dos mientras, like, as you're moving through your professional career or
Yeah.
your business in general, how you are
Yeah.
able to help two people instead of just helping one because you don't
Yeah.
know the language or
It helps a
you're
lot.
lacking. Yeah.
It helps a lot, and I think it more than just giving me the right tools. I think it when you speak to someone in Spanish, they just kind of see you as somebody that understands them, and because it's not the same. And I've seen a lot of companies sometimes whenever they're helping the Hispanic community, they just put somebody that speaks English and then they just put a translator, and it's not the same thing when you
Not
have
the
someone who's
same.
actually talking your language and saying, "Oh yeah, yo te puedo ayudar,"
There's an unspoken connection
Yeah.
that happens whenever even if it's another Latino that speaks Spanish, if you're in a foreign place, all of a sudden, like, hey, ¿qué pasó?
Hey,
¿Cómo
¿qué
estás?
onda,
You just,
bro?
like,
Hablas español.
it's like a magical moment at time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
he understands me. He gets it.
Yeah.
Our culture might be all the way not 100%, but it's pretty freaking close.
Yeah.
His upbringing is very similar to
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah,
So-
and I think that's what keeps me continuing to try to practice as much as I can. A veces se me olvidan las palabras. Sometimes my pronunciation is not good. It's just the American side of me,
Yeah.
sometimes. But
Hey, Google.
I know, like, ¿cómo se dice
¿Cómo
esto?
se dice esto?
I'm turning into an osabo.
You
No.
know, have you ever run into where you're looking at a word up and all of a
Yeah.
sudden that doesn't sound like
Just like, no.
that's
It's a Google
another
Translate
word for
doesn't
it.
work. It doesn't understand the Spanish,
Yeah.
that we speak.
¿Sabes
sometimes.
qué usado? You know what I use? ChatGPT, but instructed to say in Mexican.
Bro.
I swear, I
Me
do.
too.
Because it's different.
Yeah.
The translation of the word, it gives you like what you're looking for
Yeah.
instead of you was just to ask it to translate this
Or
word.
sometimes I put, speak to me as if you're speaking to a Mexican.
Yeah.
And then it talks to you in more understandable Spanish.
Terms.
Yeah, because if not, it gives you that Spain Spanish.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you're talking to somebody. ¿Qué
Yeah.
dijo esto?
Yeah.
Oiga, señor, no lo entiendo.
Eres
Yo
España.
sé que está hablando español, pero no es
Or-
español.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to your story.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me a little bit about your family's from Monterrey.
Yeah.
Both your mom and your dad.
My dad is from Monterrey, Nuevo León,
Uh-huh.
and my mom is from Tampico, Tamaulipas.
¿Y se conocieron aquí en Dallas o en México?
Here.
They
Yeah.
met
So
here?
my mom, when she was younger, she was brought over here, and then my father ended up coming over here también, and then they ended up meeting here.
Cool. Do you know a little bit of the story of their travels from Mexico to here? Why did they come? Why did they
Mainly
start
from my dad. From my
Uh-huh.
dad, because the way that I think my dad experienced it was a little bit different than my mom.
Right.
But my dad's stories were always more present, just because I would ask him questions like, "Hey, man, how was it?" And he would tell me pretty much some of the crazy stories that he would have, and me platicaba a veces que se venía para acá, por el río, nadando a veces en el desierto.
So
you know,
he's just by himself? Or
with
iba?
other people, con el coyote y todos, with everybody.
But they'll still make it like either because there's different ways to get here, people. I don't know if y'all know this. All this wall talk is retarded
Yeah.
because you can either go to the desert or
Yeah.
go to the river.
Yeah. And I think back then it was I wouldn't say it was a little bit easier, but I think it was there was maybe different ways to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, but he would talk to me and he would tell me how, like, a veces también los coyotes would kind of do them wrong.
Yeah.
Los hacían dar vueltas nada más to help them kill time. Y los trataban de abandonar and stuff and things like that. And he'd tell me how sometimes even in the wintertime, they'd sleep out in the desert, and they'd kind of sleep in people's like backyards and stuff. So yeah, I think that's why it's so present, because I kind of remember those stories that he would tell me.
Yeah. Why did you want to ask them those stories? Some kids might want to know.
Yeah.
Their parents maybe not be willing to share.
Yeah.
It might be kind of hard to even ask those questions.
Yeah.
What made you want to drive to ask them those questions?
Well, I think for me it's because, growing up, I've always been close to both my parents, but I was always closer to my dad. So growing up, I kind of was iba con él. My dad was a jeweler his entire life.
Oh, wow.
So hacía reparación de joyería. The
Chido.
best jeweler, I'd say,
I
ever.
believe you.
Because he just kind of learned the craft, and he did that most of my life. So whenever we were younger, la acompañaba like to the flea market, y él se ponía like with his little table and with his little rótulo
Yeah.
that said, reparación de joyería. And as a kid, man, as like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, I would be there right next to him, and he would fix the jewelry, clean it, y luego yo con un cepillito, bro, like, lo tallaba, and me daban propina and stuff.
Really?
So,
That's cool.
yeah, so growing up, like, I experienced that aspect of our life, especially with my dad. So it kind of was more natural for me to kind of wonder and be curious, like, hey, well, how did all this get started? Like, ¿cómo tuvo tu historia? But even up to when I grew up, he kind of did that most of my life. So I think that's where the interest came, wanting to figure out, hey, where did it all get started?
Yeah. Was it his own company or did he work for a
Yeah.
company?
So he did it for himself. He did it for himself.
Mm.
My dad was always he's an entrepreneur. Was always an entrepreneur. He was always kind of like go to and motivated to to be out there and just grind
Yeah.
it. I think that's where I get a lot of those qualities. A lot of those
Yeah.
qualities of
And
just,
your mom pretty much brought over as a young lady, and
Yeah.
that was pretty much it.
Yeah,
Anything
so
interesting about hers?
yeah, so my mom had an interesting life to in because even here she was brought up when she was younger. So I think it's also even difficult if you think about it. Like when you're brought over here, you kind of have to adapt yourself to the lifestyle
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
I think for her that was one of the biggest challenges, trying to adapt from the lifestyle that you had and just kind of being, brought up in that part of Mexico and then adapting yourself here. But I think luckily for her, she was able to pick up on English a lot faster. So my mom, she speaks it, but she prefers not to. I think she's like the Mexican here is
O
like,
le da
no.
pena también, maybe just.
No, I think she just sometimes prefers Spanish, I think. She's really good at speaking English. Sometimes it's like, hey mom,
Get
you
down,
can
mama.
yeah, it's like, dang, the hood slang. What's going on? No, but yeah, her life was also interesting too. And I think from her, what I kind of picked up on her side of the story or her life growing up was kind of more of that willingness to always keep pushing forward. That I think most Latina mothers, I think we've all seen hard workers,
Yeah.
hardest workers out there.
Yeah.
They're just grinding it out, whether it is one job, two jobs at once. So I think seeing it from both sides of my family, my mom and my dad, I think it's what really kind of helped me kind of try to be somewhat of a hard worker as they've been. I can't compare to them. I think it's different when you're born here. It's not the same drive and motivation,
Yeah.
but I try as much as I can to just kind of live up to that.
That's awesome. The So anything significant as you were growing up, as far as, of course, they molding you pretty much without realizing, you as a kid seeing the way they're moving and see how hard they work. Was there anything significant as far as going to school? Anything that stand out to you as far as made you want to maybe be an entrepreneur, maybe have your own thing at one time or another?
Yeah. I think that the entire journey of, like I said, experience that with my dad, just kind of being there kind of made me, my dad was always the type to tell me like, hey, one, my dad always wanted me to continue his business, his craft of jewelry,
Okay.
but I think as a kid, I think sometimes we're naive and we don't see the value and importance of some of those skills that our parents have. And I
Right.
think that's was the case for me. I was like, nah, I don't want to be a joyero, I want to do something else. But I think what made me want to figure something out was that idea of like, I grew up with my dad always telling me like, para todo hay solución. We can figure this out. We can always do it.
Yeah.
And seeing that, like I said, from my mom and my dad. So I think for me, my entire life was kind of more of like, hey, if there isn't a way, let's make one.
Mhm.
So whenever I started learning or trying to explore the entrepreneur life, which is a difficult one, I see a lot of people sometimes they idolize the idea of entrepreneurship because they're like, oh, it's like financial freedom, and it's like sometimes you end up working more than the average person. Like people try to sell you on this, like, oh, you quit your 9 to 5 and become an entrepreneur. Yeah, you're quitting your 9 to 5 to work like a 12 to 12. Because you're working like
12 to 12.
yeah, you're working crazy hours. So I think for me when I started going through that journey of trying to figure it out, it was always like, well, I saw my dad doing it and I saw my mom also doing it. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm cut out for this, and I decided to do it.
Yeah. So did they ever push you trying to go to school? Because eventually you made your way to school, to college, to try to explore something.
Yeah.
What did they tell you in, like, as far as going to college, go to college?
Yeah. So my family dynamic was a little bit different than
Mhm.
most. I think. Well, I mean, I guess it depends what most is, right? But for me, my parents split up at a young age. So my
Mhm.
parents split up when I was like around 11. So from there, I ended up kind of going to live with my dad, and my dad was kind of trying to help us with college and stuff, and the motivation, or I guess the encouragement, was always there, but the decision was mine at the end of the day. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up just figuring out like what could pay me enough to be able to put myself through college. My dad encouraged me as much as he could and helped me as much as he could.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, I kind of had to see how I was gonna pay for it.
And what was the at that time the interest of studying? What did you want to study at that time? Was it marketing a
Nah,
thing
it was
that you wanted
psychology.
to?
I wanted to be a I wanted
Psychology.
to be a counselor.
Why did you want to be a counselor? Where did it was it the money
Well,
thing? Was it?
no, I think I wanted to do psychology because
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of being able to help people,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of us sometimes we struggle with finding a sense of purpose, and for me it was like, well, I kind of have this life experience where my parents split up at a young age. I kind of had the ups and downs of life,
Right.
emotionally, and I just there was kind of that journey that I just didn't know why a lot of things happened in my life. So I was like, maybe I can be the voice of reason for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for some people, I can be that person that could help guide them and through those situations that I
Right.
experienced. So for me, the idea of being a psychologist was being somebody else's light at the end of the tunnel. But then reality hit me, and I was like, dude, I have my own problems. I don't think I don't think I'll be cut out to help people with their problems. But I think it almost I almost pivoted and I said, well, maybe I won't be able to help people as a psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe I can help people in their entrepreneurship journey.
Okay.
Maybe some type of consulting or some type of
Right.
strategy, even if it's for free. I just want to help people in some way or form. So that's kind of why I went from okay psychology to just all right, let's just figure this out in marketing.
As you're in school and you're figuring all this out, because it takes a big person to realize, like, I have my own situations that I have to address. Maybe in order to help other people, I have to get this sorted out. Or so
Yeah.
it's best for me to go a different approach. Was it the being in school in general and just learning that is difficult? Maybe
Yeah.
that's not going to be the road for you.
I think the work life balance or even I guess school life balance, the
Yeah.
balance of juggling like your actual reality, which is like, yo, we got all this stuff going on sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the idea of like wanting to do more for other people. And I
Right.
think at some point you kind of come to the realization, well, what am I doing for me? And I kind of realized that, well, I could be more helpful to people if I really figured myself out and really kind of went through the journey of putting myself in a better position where I could help people,
Mm-hmm.
because I think sometimes I've fallen into that where like you're helping, giving, 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 but sometimes you don't even, it comes to the point that you don't have much to give at some point because you're just kind of giving your all. So for me, it was like, well, if I want to help people, I need to be in a better position,
Right.
whether it's helping people financially, whether it's helping my family or helping people in general with something, I need to be a little bit better off. So for me, it was like, okay, maybe school is kind of draining a little bit of my resources, is draining a little bit of my time. And I continued, I went through financial aid help, I
Yeah.
went through
Of course.
financial aid. It helped me. I did, I went to Eastfield, did 2 years of an associate's there. Got some certifications in substance abuse and mental health through Eastfield. And then from there, I went to University of Texas, Dallas, and I did bachelor's in psychology split with sociology.
So you did
So
get your degree
yeah, so
after
I
all.
finished. I finished.
Awesome.
All that to say, I finished, but I didn't really do much with the degree. It was more of like a sense of accomplishment because I'm just like, well, I started it, and I think my parents would be proud if I finished. So
How does it feel whenever you get to, even though it's a struggle, even though you realizing all these things that maybe you're not going to be able to exercise what you're studying because of all the things that are starting coming up,
yeah.
you start thinking about, how does it feel at the end whenever you get to graduate?
Well, not honestly, I think it should have felt greater, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more of like I kind of had already made the decision of like maybe I just don't want to do psychology, so I don't have to finish it. But I was definitely happy that I finished because it's like weight off your shoulder. It's just like all right, we're
Absolutely.
done. But then from there it was like figuring out okay, what's the next step for me?
Yeah.
Do I just get a job in this? I mean, and when you think about it, psychology, sociology, you can't really get a like an actual corporate job with it. I mean,
Mhm.
I guess you could, but it's not something like very interesting to me as far as the choices that were there. So I just kind of from there I had to figure out what was next.
Yeah.
So I went
Not,
into YouTube and
not
I
even
googled some stuff.
schooling or maybe be a counselor in school or some
Yeah,
elementary schools. It
yeah.
just wasn't something that you wanted to do at
It's
that
it's
time
not
either.
something that interested me at that point
Okay.
anymore because I think I had gone through the point where I just felt like, you know what, I want to do more, and I think growing up that was always my mindset of like, maybe I'm meant for something. I was always like fascinated by the comic books.
Uh,
The Flash was my
oh, yeah.
superhero, Spider-Man, Superman. And I think that fascination came from like almost like a place within myself where I kind of wanted to feel like a superhero and do something great for people.
Right, right.
So I think for me, when I kind of realized that, man, maybe I won't be able to do it so much in
Hmm.
psychology, let's just try something else. So that's why I didn't pursue it. And I just figured
That's
something else
awesome.
out. Yeah.
How did your parents feel whenever you get to see their son graduate? I don't know if you're the first one or not,
Yeah.
but
Well, I didn't let them know.
really,
Yeah.
why is
Yeah.
that?
So whenever my parents split up at a young age, I kind of went through this. through this phase as a teen where I just kind of didn't know what where to place the blame, and I had a lot of internal battles as a kid growing up where it was just like maybe a sense of frustration because of how just life plays out with your parents. I mean, who doesn't as a kid? Who doesn't want to
Right.
have both of their parents go to their, what do they call it?
Graduation.
The graduation
Yeah,
or
ceremony.
teacher parent conference.
Yeah, of
you know?
course. Or any of
You know,
those events.
every kid,
Yeah,
wants that. So I think for me, it was kind of almost like that battle of frustration where it's like because I didn't get it, it was kind of almost like, well, I was just frustrated and I wasn't able to nurture a good relationship with them growing up, which I think is one of the biggest mistakes that I think any kid could make. And I think sometimes, like I said, we're naive and we're just kind of almost selfish as kids. So for me, I didn't really have that relationship growing up with them.
Right.
And then you fast forward to when I graduated high school, I ended up moving out at 18. So from 18 to, I won't say my age now, but from but from 18 to like whenever I put myself through college and everything, it was kind of just me figuring life out, trying to survive. And I also made the same mistake of not really nurturing that relationship with my parents. So whenever I got to the point where I was done with college, I was like, well, I'm not really close to them anyways. And it wasn't, nobody knew really. I think maybe just now, people are finding out that I actually put myself through college and then I graduated. It's just kind of more of like, I was just kind of on my own since 18,
Awesome. Congratulations,
I
bro.
appreciate it,
It's,
yeah.
it's amazing that I get it, right? Of the ways, the things that happen. Sometimes it's not necessary because you've done it all on your own. Why does anybody need
Yeah.
to know at the end of the day? But
Yeah.
it's awesome that you're able to do
But
it.
they're proud now. I think
That's
as far as like where I'm at and where I've kind of been able to overcome some challenges when I do talk, well, when I've had these conversations with them about
Yeah.
like some of the things that I have, like the plans and the goals, like they're always excited about it.
That's awesome.
They've always been excited about
Okay,
it.
so at one time, things got really difficult for you mentally. Different things, challenges were happening to the point where you ended up even homeless.
Yeah, it was a tough one, man.
You almost a year. What happened exactly that you were not able to maintain a place to stay? Like,
Yeah, I was broke, man.
you was just
Yeah.
plain broke.
I think
Even though you were working, not working.
yeah,
or-
so it was kind of almost a transition in my life where I was kind of, it's sometimes, life hits you from every angle. You're just like, what am I doing wrong? For me, it was kind of,
yeah.
it was one of those instances where, I was in a bad relationship, and that was going downhill. And then from there, I kind of had some issues with, my father at the time was experiencing some health issues, and then I had some family as well, problems that were arising, and then from there, I just had unstable employment. And I kind of everything got together to the point where I just couldn't really even concentrate at the job that I was at, and I was just kind of going through this like dark moment. I was kind of
Mhm.
kind of sad all the time and stuff, and it got to the point where I just ended up losing my job, and it was right around the time where my lease needed to renew for my apartment. So I remember whenever all that happened, I was like, "Oye, ¿cómo lo vas a hacer, bro?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need to get
Yeah.
stuff done, and I always knew that okay, the worst that could happen is like I go homeless and I live out of my car for a little bit. It's like
That's exactly what happened?
Yeah, exactly what happened. But it's like I guess I always had the mindset of like, all right, I guess it's not that bad. Who hasn't lived in their car before? But I did. Oh wow,
Maybe like
yeah.
a day.
Lucky
Just
you.
sleeping on my car.
Oh, you
but
slept? Yeah, sometimes,
that's
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did almost for a year, man. It was
crazy
tough.
to me,
But
bro.
yeah, but it kind of was almost one of those things where it just life hit me from every angle, man.
Of course.
Financially, emotionally, family wise, and I think también because I moved out at 18 at such a young age, it kind of almost was an ego thing to reach out for help. And it was
Yeah.
kind of almost like I didn't want to tell no one. I didn't want to tell nobody I was struggling. It was embarrassing, bro. Like imagine that, like for you to kind of go from the point where you're kind of doing good and then you're just like you're just dead broke. So for me, it was kind of almost like a lot of things. And yeah, man, I ended up just kind of saying, well, you know what, man, I can't afford this apartment no more. I'm not gonna renew my lease, so I ended up not renewing my lease. And at the time, I had a little a Chevy Malibu that I got out of CarMax,
Yeah.
which broke down eventually. But yeah, and I was just I'll just stay living out of my car. You see,
Oh.
Lisa, bro, I was there. I spent
Yeah.
summers, winters, and pretty much I had a gym membership like at Planet Fitness for like $10. Iba me bañaba ahí, and then I'd pretty much just sleep in my car. I'd sleep right next to 24 Fitness, because what's interesting is that you don't realize how many people actually live in their car until you're living in your car.
Really?
Yeah. And it wasn't until I started trying to find a place to stay at night where I was like, oh, that guy's sleeping in his car too. Let me stay right here and park next to him. So I'd go to Walmart parking lots. I'd go through like 24 Hour Fitness or Fitness Connections and things like that. And I kind of started being more self-aware of that, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not alone. You know, there's a homeless guy next to me.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that happened. So
yeah.
pretty much feel like rock bottom. Everything's against you and everything. What makes you want to keep pushing? Of course, I know. Yes, most likely our ego gets on the way of like, hey, you've been doing it by yourself all this time. All of a sudden, you're gonna reach out for help. You figure a way to do it, right? But still, right? Seemed like you might have been going through some depression and stuff. How do you push through it?
I think there was moments where I'll be honest, man, and it's the thing that I think maybe a lot of us men don't really admit to sometimes,
Right.
and it's kind of one of those moments where I just needed to actually break down and let the emotions out, you know. And I think when I would have those moments, like living out of my car, man, I remember just kind of like at nights, bro, and I'd just be like crying. I'd just be like, man, like, why is this happening to me, you know? And knowing that there's always a solution is what kept me trying to figure it out. But I think mostly was I just have conversations with God, man, and I've never really been like a religious person, but I've always believed in a higher power. And growing up, I was raised to be a specific religion, but then I got introduced to Christianity, and that's kind of the avenue that I took my faith, you know, because that was what has been truth for me. And at the time, I just remember remembering like the times that I would go to church and I'd pray, and I was like, well, maybe if you're listening, you know, let me just have this conversation with you, God. And I would, man, I'd have like the most honest conversations, and I think that venting and just wanting to believe that there was somebody listening and wanting to believe that my story at maybe one day could help one person
Right.
go through the situations is what kind of helped me just kind of keep pushing forward, you know. And I think also having faith in general, I think it's a good thing, you know. And I think it's one of those things where it's like you need it to get through some of the hardest moments in your life. And I think that's what really helped me, just kind of believing in God and believing that there was something else that I needed to do in my life. And we made it, man. After a while, after some time, I ended up finding a job at a call center while I was still living
Shout
in
out
my
to
car.
the call centers.
Yeah, shout
I
out to
worked
call
there
center.
for years.
Yeah,
and it was the dopest thing ever.
Yeah.
All I need to do is sit there and talk to people. Okay,
That's it. Yeah, right. It's like our life, bro.
Right.
So I enjoyed it, man. And then from there, poco a poquito me fui levantando. And then from there, I mean, we started transitioning into just kind of figuring all this marketing stuff out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an interesting journey, man. It was for sure. It was a tough one, but it was worth it.
Yeah. So you find a few people that are interested in investing in something that you have because they see a lot of potential in you, right?
Yeah.
So
Se
the
aprovecharon de mí,
quote
bro.
unquote investors,
Yeah.
you know, do you already create your company, Hispanos Marketing? And I know there's a different company that you have now that you seen on the feed, something Latinos.
Okay.
USA.
Yeah.
Okay. So when does the name start? Hispanos. Why did you want to go with Hispanos? Was it during that time with those investors, or was something different?
No, so that was an interesting situation, man. I'm telling you, it's like my life's a roller coaster, bro. Because cuando me estaba reponiendo and everything was going a little bit better, I had found a job at that call center. Life was going a little bit better. I was living my best life, getting $15 an hour, bro. You know, not a lot, but to me, bro, living out of your car, now you're making 15. Hey, I'll take it. So, but yeah, I was me estaba reponiendo, and I was slowly working my way up. You know, the corporate ladder. I was like, maybe I could do more here at this call center. But then I met some people through some connections who were interested in my talents. Because considering that even though I was kind of going through these hard times, many years I had already been doing a little bit of digital marketing work. You know, like small logos here and there.
How did you get into that?
I learned on YouTube.
You learned it. Why do you want to learn on YouTube how to make a logo?
Yeah. So whenever I kind of went to live on my own at 18, I kind of had already came to that realization of like, maybe psychology is not going to be it for me, but I wanted to continue. But I was like, at least I need to have a backup plan, and maybe the degree is the backup plan. And I started learning on YouTube how to like design stuff. I just wanted to figure out how I could make money online. Nice. And I remember I was like, maybe I can start like a blog, an online blog or something. And then I realized you can't really make a lot of money off of it. I remember I created one, and I was trying to do these viral news. Bro, I made like $20 in like 3 months. I was like, all right, this ain't it.
$20?
Hey, but in 3 months, man.
3 months, a long time.
So, but then I realized, well, I created this website blog. Maybe I can offer this service to someone. Maybe I can make a website for them. So I did. I mean, slowly I started getting one customer here and there. And while I was doing like, you know, some of the work that I was doing.
How did you find these customers? So how did they find you?
Through connections like church and stuff. I'm like, hey man, I've been doing websites for church. Like, a veces les avientas un rollo. Oh, te puedo ayudar y que esto que lo otro, you know. You're being truthful because you know you could help them, but sometimes you got to sell yourself. So for me, it was like, oh, te puedo ayudar con tu página web, you know.
You can't be like, yo te puedo hacer una.
Yeah, es que no sé.
Man, yo te la hago.
Yeah,
con
exactamente.
Fireworks y toda la cosa.
Yeah, y que salga tu foto, te das de un profesional y todo.
Yeah, todo.
So for me, it was that was kind of the best way of selling myself, and I was able to do it. But throughout the transition, I kind of knew a little bit of, I learned on YouTube, self-taught, how to design websites, logos, how to implement marketing strategies. I went to YouTube Academy.
Yeah. Did you... Brief interruption to let you know that you are enjoying the episode. If you are, hit the subscribe button, give us a comment, give us a like. Thank you very much for being here. And now, back to the episode. Kind of sort of see yourself, the way that you talk to people, try to get clients, the way that your dad used to do when he was out there hustling and talking to people?
Yeah, I think for me, that's what, anytime that I talked to anyone, it was almost like I was mirroring like my dad's hustle, you know? And even when I would talk to people, I would kind of, they would just remind me of my dad, like, you know, Spanish speaker out there trying to grind and hustle. So I'd be like, ¿Cómo está, hija? No se preocupe, yo le ayudo con confianza. A veces le decía así, les hablas así normal y como que they're like, oh, this guy, you know, he's trying to help me, you know?
Take care of me. Yeah.
So for me, it was that. I was always like, okay, mirroring like what I grew up around. But yeah, so backtrack a little bit. So I ended up out of the call center. I ended up meeting, I was getting back on my feet, and I ended up meeting those people that were interested in my skills, that they kind of saw potential in me, and they were like, hey, you know what, they proposed. And actually it's because I ended up, while I was still working at the call center, I ended up going to they owned a restaurant. So I ended up going to the restaurant to sell myself and say, hey, you know what, if you ever need anything, call me. I give them my business card. They called me and they're like, hey, by the way, we just started this restaurant, but we thought it would be a great idea for us to start an internal marketing company so we can do our own marketing for the restaurant and then take on external customers. Which I was like, hey, it's not a bad idea, right? As long as you're funding and you're paying for your own marketing, right? Because you can't funnel a free service, right? If you're starting a business, you have to pay the business to promote your own business. So they kind of positioned it to where it seemed all nice. They're like, yeah, you know, we're going to fund you for a whole year. We're going to pay your salary.
Any red flags at all during these conversations?
There was, man. But, you know, sometimes you're just blinded by the dollar signs. You're like, oh, I'm going to make it. And I think for me, it was almost like I saw my breakthrough. Like, oh, ya la hice. You know, they believe in me. I know my stuff. And they're funding everything. I'm not taking any losses. All I'm putting is my time. Yeah, of course, you know. So
they're not gonna compensate you at all.
So they were, yeah. So that was another thing too, that they were gonna match the same amount of money that I was making at the call center. So they were just like, and I didn't ask for anything more, bro. I was like, you know, está bien, like pay me what I'm making to do what I love or what I've found a passion for now. Yeah, let's go for it. So we did it, and then they funded us to hire two more people, a designer and then a front desk person who was gonna help with sales and strategy. So we got an office space, you know, they got furniture and everything. And yeah, man, the first month we were just kind of like trying to make sales, strategize and stuff. And then the next month comes around and they're just like, hey, unfortunately, we're going to have to pull the plug on you, you know? And then we're just like, they don't understand why. But I guess from there, one of the biggest things is that they just didn't have a good management of their finances to the point where they're like, oh, by the way, we're going to have to close the marketing agency down. You're fired, fire them. Ahí nos vemos. So pretty much, man, I was left with, and at the time también había sacado unas credit cards to pay for, to get some like cameras and stuff. So me endeudé, bro. Me endeudé para sacar unas cameras and
to
then
help with the marketing and everything.
Yeah, for the marketing. Yeah, because I think because they had already were funding, I was like, well, the least that I can do is pay for some cameras a crédito. Pero me dejaron con la deuda, bro. Me dejaron con la deuda de la credit card. They owed me the salary for that month, bro. Like it was like a couple grand on top of that, and then yeah, bro. And then back to square one.
Yeah.
Ahí vamos otra vez downhill.
Y luego you go back to finding a job. You make a breakthrough. Say, ¿sabes qué? I was doing it with them. I can do it myself.
Yeah.
Or what happens?
Yeah, I think I felt that. I mean, stuff like that pisses you off. You know, you're just like, man, like it's crazy because you knew that there's potential. You knew that they just didn't believe in you. They just weren't patient. You know, so I was like, man, maybe I could do this by myself. And I decided to do it. I ended up registering. I had a couple names before. That
tell me.
we shall not speak of.
You're not gonna
They're
talk to
not
them?
marketable.
Well,
Okay,
still,
okay.
you can
We'll
say
say
what
you're
they were.
right.
They're not useful
So,
anymore.
so back in the days when I just didn't really have a lot of marketability, I was like,
Uh-huh.
well, let me come up with a creative name. So it's kind of embarrassing, bro. But it was Turbo Biz.
Turbo Biz. Isn't that like a
Biz.
TurboTax?
Exactly.
You were biting off of it?
I was biting off of it. Don't sue me. It was never a business. It never took off.
Luego, what other ones?
So Turbo Biz was one. I did one of them was a weird name. I bought the domain, and because it was a short domain, it was Dixie-fi, like Pixie, but it was Dixie-fi. Has nothing to do with marketing, but I just wanted to play around with the name. I had CR Creative Studio at one point. I had WebXP at some point. But then I just none of these names were really kind of delivering what I wanted to do and who I wanted to help, which I think it's important.
Your market was Latinos, Hispanic.
It was
people.
always that. It was
So
always that.
when does, of course, trial and error, many names, none of them sticking, nothing's what you're trying to do. Y luego, Hispanos marketing.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
So Hispanos Marketing Group is soon after, I think the last name that I had was CR Creative Studio. Soon after, I was like, well, you know what? I want to be able to deliver who I'm helping and why I'm doing this in the name. So I figured, why not name who I'm trying to help, the Hispanic community, you know? So I said, you know what? Hispanos Marketing Group, it could kind of have two meanings. Either we're a Hispanic marketing group or Hispanos Marketing Group, right? That's helping people. Or we're focused on helping the Hispanic community, which is really both aspects of what I do.
Yeah.
So I ended up checking for availability, checking for the domain, checking everything. And yeah, I got the business registered. And from there, I've been operating as Hispanos Marketing Group. And I think it's a great representation of what I do and why I do it. And then from there surge lo que viene siendo el nombre Contratista Latino USA.
Contratistas
It's a tongue
Latinos
twister.
USA.
Contratista Latino USA, which
Yeah.
is it's more of like a sub name to Hispanos Marketing Group. The main reason was because I noticed that with Hispanos Marketing Group, I started getting a lot of more established American-based companies that were English-speaking wanting to tap into the Hispanic community. So they would reach out to me under Hispanos Marketing Group.
So not the people you're trying to help. Even though there's money there, but they're not
yeah,
the ones you wanna help.
exactly.
They're
So
already established.
I'll take it though. You know, anybody Hispanic Marketing Group, we can help you reach the Hispanic community. But yeah, so it kind of starts turning into well now the other people are finding you because as we mentioned before when we started, they see the power within the Hispanic community, the consuming power. So they're like, hey, we need somebody that understands the Hispanic community, understands the culture, who better than Hispanos Marketing Group? It's in their name. So that's kind of what I started noticing. But then I was like, you know what? But I want to help the Hispanic community. Like, I want to help people in Spanish, en español. Quiero tener esas conversaciones en español, ayudar a mi gente. So I was like, well, what if we do just kind of a subsection, a subname, which is Contratista Latino USA. And the focus of that has been to help Hispanic-owned contractors.
Contractors. Not any other type.
I help anyone.
You help anyone, but your key market, who you want to help.
Yeah.
Why the contractors?
Yeah, I think there's it resonates with it just growing up. I think my dad was always a key. He was a key point in my life. So kind of seeing all those elements of my dad and other people, it kind of has helped me to just kind of continue to want to help. My dad passed away this year in January. So
very sorry for you.
yeah. So it's been more of an incentive for me to help. You know, because it just kind of reminds me of the point where my dad was at and he needed that help. So the Hispanic contractor is typically your traditional old school Hispanic man, you know, who maybe sometimes he doesn't understand the digital aspect of things. So you have to have more patience and you have to just not necessarily sell to them, but try to educate them in a way where they feel en confianza. And they're like, esta persona me quiere ayudar. So, and I started noticing that I started getting a lot of good traction with the Hispanic community and especially contractors. Like, me tenían confianza. They're just like, sabes que no te entiendo lo que me estás diciendo, pero te tengo confianza porque me lo estás explicando y tienes esa transparencia. So I was like, well, why not just narrow down my audience? You know, I don't have to be an octopus trying to get everyone. And I think sometimes that can be something that hinders you too, you know, because when you try to spread yourself too wide, sometimes
too thin too.
Too thin, yeah. A veces hacemos mucho, bueno, like I've said, a veces hago mucho, pero a la vez no hago nada. Porque ando tratando de que este cliente, que este por acá. But then when I was like, you know what? I just want to narrow down the people that I help. I know what works for them. I know what kind of presentation they need as far as construction companies, remodeling agencies. I know the type of websites that we can make. I know the type of logos that we can make. Why not just narrow it down? And yeah, I've been fortunate enough to have customers across the U.S., man, across the United States. Contractors from mostly every state reach out through some ads and some promos that we have going on online. And it's just, I think it's not shocking, but I'm very grateful that people trust me. People trust me, and I think it has to do a little bit with what we talked about. Esa confianza de continue for us to continue to just kind of be proud of our culture and not be afraid to speak the language. I think is what's helped me.
That's great because I don't doubt that that community is underserved with those particular the presence
Yeah.
online. Yeah, if anybody wants to work with them,
Yeah,
especially somebody that's big companies, big projects,
extremely underserved.
they want to see somebody like they're not gonna go to wherever they're at and kind of talk to them. They have to be put in their faces.
Yeah.
Look, mira lo que estoy haciendo.
Sí.
Look what we're doing.
Yeah.
over
No, y lo que he visto también que funciona muy bien con los contratistas is that muchos de ellos son bien movidos. Like they're motivated, bro, like contractors. And that's what I admire about just the Latino entrepreneur. We're grinding. And I noticed that a lot of these contractors le están echando ganas, bro. Están repartiendo tarjetas, están pidiendo referencias, they're going to networking events, están tomando clases de inglés. But sometimes the only thing that they're missing is that professional presentation, their online image, And what often happens, and I notice especially with Hispanic business owners in general, sometimes we cut corners because we don't understand the importance of different aspects of our online presence. So we end up hiring somebody to design business cards that they just use the template. Y nos pusieron ahí una casita, un martillito, cualquier cosita, and they just pretty much sold it to you, but they sold it to 10 other people. And what ends up happening is that you're not really setting yourself apart from the competition. And I run into this day in and day out. Que a veces me dicen, ya tengo un logo. Pues mándamelo. And it's the same logo that somebody else had.
Yeah. 20
exactly.
condenados.
Yeah.
And then this right here, like this is all here. Everything's like right here. Like all your calling card of your website or everything's right here.
You're more easily accessible when you have that stuff. Yeah. And the Hispanic community, man, we've been underserved, and I think it's a little bit of everything, and that's really why I decided to really go all in, bro. Because if you think about it, a lot of the American-based agencies, right, that are primarily English-speaking, they're not investing funds and resources into the Hispanic community. If they are, they're just trying to sell you something. They're just trying to sell you a service. They're not trying to educate you. Exactly.
To sell you,
yeah,
and not really tell you the reason why you want it.
Exactly. And I know this because of all the contractors that I've talked to. I have like close to 2,000 contacts in my database where I've talked to the majority of these people.
Right.
And the thing that I always hear is like, es que nada más me quieren vender un servicio a las otras agencias. No me lo explican bien o no son transparentes. A veces nada más quieren que les dé la tarjeta y me siguen cobrando. And those are the experiences that sometimes make it difficult, make it more challenging. But I think it makes it rewarding as well because you spend so much time educating to the point where now they trust you and they're like, do business with you long term.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, I mean, it's great that people like you exist because they see that we're being left behind.
Yeah.
We're not having all those amazing, beautiful websites and apps and stuff like that instead of and missing out on some money. Where we do the work is already the work that they do is already great work as it is, right? You just need to let people know that they're doing it.
You
They're
should need to
still doing
display it.
but
Yeah.
scale up more. They can do a whole lot more, bigger contracts, bigger things if they just have the look.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They will live in a world that you have to have the look too.
Yeah.
Not only the work, but
Yeah.
the look, and you look savage, you look serious to be able
Yeah.
to people to take it. It makes sense,
Yeah.
but still, you have
It's
to
tough.
have that too.
And it's tough whenever you're not accustomed to it as a community where it's just like it's not normal to you porque casi la mayoría están acostumbrados a aquí tengo fotos en mi teléfono o aquí tengo mi tarjeta nada más. So it's tough whenever you're kind of helping them transition because sometimes they still don't see the value. But I think for the most part, I mean, the more time that we spend trying to educate and help people, I think the more that, we start helping our community in general. And so that's why I do it. I mean, I think most of the time, bro, I spend most of the time just talking to people, honestly, than selling. And I think that's why a lot of people sometimes are just like, sí, te voy a recomendar a tal persona because you're the go-to guy.
Pero sí like what they saying and showing the picture, sí funciona up to a point. Pero si quieres crecer más, si quieres ser más grande, si quieres hacer más trabajos, más
contratos, más grandes.
contratos más grandes.
Es que se trata de la presentación profesional de tu negocio. So, por ejemplo, ahorita tú viniste bien presentable, bien guapo. Bro. Si estamos aquí, si es una entrevista, un trabajo, te contrato. you know, because you're presentable, you
Right.
know, y hay veces cuando nos presentamos a algún lugar, como decimos a veces todos despeinados, fodón, así como vine yo, bro. Así que cuando nos presentamos así no presentables, a veces como que es la primera impresión que se lleva el cliente.
Yeah.
So, cuando hablamos de los contratistas y tú te presentas con tu tarjeta profesional, tu logotipo profesional, tu página web presentable, que en tus redes sociales tienes fotos profesionales, no borrosas con el dedo ahí o con el trabajador sin camisa, you know,
Yeah, of
que se vea
course.
todo bien. Con más razón los contratistas, los contratos más grandes, las compañías americanas van a decir, you know what, te voy a contratar o te voy a dar la oportunidad de que te sientes conmigo para que me expliques qué me puedes ofrecer y cómo me puedes ayudar.
Yeah.
Yo creo que para muchos eso es la importancia de tener algo presentable y profesional.
Yeah, absoluto. Es parte de lo que ahora tienes que hacer.
Ujú.
Pero una vez más, el trabajo ya lo sabes hacer. Ahora,
Sí.
¿qué puedes hacer para ti para poder crecer más grandes, contratos más grandes y poder hacer algo más
Ya.
establecido?
No, y si te contara las fotos que me mandan a
Right.
veces los contratistas, son trabajos que yo me quedo como, oye, you know your stuff, like,
Mhm.
trabajos bien bonitos, a veces están construyendo casas, están construyendo, remodelando las cosas y se ve presentable y profesional. Y como dices tú, a veces lo único que falta es nada más empaquetarlo, que sea bonito, aquí está.
Package it
That's all they
so other
need. Just
people they can
package it
see
up.
it.
That's it.
Yeah,
Because yeah, there's a lot of contractors that are very talented, man.
yeah, that's cool. Y Latinos Marketing Group nunca sonó. It wasn't.
Latinos marketing group, I played with it. I think there might be something out there, man.
Yeah.
No free promo here. No free promo. Hispanos marketing group, by the way.
No shout out. No shout out. Okay, we're running shortly on time, but thank you so much. You started launching before I let you go classes.
Yeah.
What exactly does class entail? Where can people go and watch the class? Where can attend? Is it an online class?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
somewhere that you can go to?
Yeah, so what we're going to be doing is hopefully we want to make it a recurring thing every Saturday to do Spanish classes, English classes too, but Spanish classes more so for marketing. So any business owner, entrepreneur that wants to learn a little bit about the fundamentals of marketing, we're going to be getting those classes recurring on either Saturday, maybe one day out of the week. But just the best way to reach out is just either the website, hispanosmarketinggroup.com, or our social media, Hispanos Marketing, or reach out to me.
And what is the curriculum? What is it? Anybody? Y en español también.
Sí.
Alguien que quiera tomar tus clases de mercadeo, de todo lo que
Mercadotecnia.
es.
Sí, bueno, las clases son gratis,
Ajá.
principalmente, lo más importante. Que a veces dicen, pues, ¿cuánto cuesta? De gratis, no te
Es gratis.
preocupes, ¿no? Te vamos a ayudar. Pero en sí, el propósito de las clases y varios de los temas que se van a tocar, el propósito principal es que repasemos los fundamentos, ¿verdad? De qué es marketing, por qué lo necesitas, cómo te puedes vender utilizando tu presencia en línea. Y ya de ahí tratar de figurar cómo lo puedes implementar en tu negocio, que yo creo que es lo más importante, porque hay muchas maneras de cómo implementar tu marketing, o en inglés es marketing, pero la palabra es mercadotecnia, pero muchas personas, mercadotecnia, pero mucha
Ujú.
gente ya conoce el término marketing, sí, por eso le puse hispanos
El
marketing.
Spanglish.
Es un tema, una palabra muy común ya. Pero sí, es el propósito realmente de las clases, clases gratis, pero sí, nada más para informar, educar a las personas de qué es marketing o cómo lo puedes implementar en tu negocio.
Ok.
Entonces veremos que en las próximas semanas, este mes en particular, lancemos varias, pero los estaré subiendo en las redes sociales.
So, Saturdays, usually, los sábados, más o menos, sometimes.
Algo con las 10, sí, sí.
Como, ¿cuánto dura la clase? ¿1 hora, 2 horas, 3 horas?
Yo diría como una hora.
1 hora.
Aproximadamente una hora.
Y es
Sí,
por Zoom.
a través de Zoom.
Por
ya.
Zoom. A través de Zoom puedes meterte ahí, escuchar o ver qué es lo que haces, how does it work,
Yeah.
qué es marketing,
Yeah.
mercadotecnia, qué
Yeah.
es para
Se
empezar.
le está olvidando el
marketing.
español.
Mercadotecnia.
But before we leave,
Ajá.
tell us a little about the braided crispin.
So, 3 years ago when I started the podcast, I thought it was a cool idea to have my hair braided all the time and just do interviews, talk about, just because I still have long hair, but I just, I don't know, I felt like that was the look for me to go and
Yeah.
start off the podcast.
Yeah.
And not transition
I
to.
vote that we should bring it back.
We might bring it back one of these. Pero yeah, I started
Yeah.
doing the podcast there just by myself, talking and just making stuff up, and then not making stuff up, but
Yeah.
to my best ability to
Yeah.
be able to kind of share with the world some of the things that maybe they don't understand about Latinos, Latino culture.
No, for sure.
And I did my best effort to research and give history, give stories, tell why this song became this or whatever.
Yeah, I like
you
that.
know?
I was researching. I was like, you gave me a Wisin y Yandel vibes. you
And
know,
I
back in the
did
day.
some music. I got some music. You can check it out on
Yeah.
Spotify.
Oh, bro,
Crispin
what was your rap
Valentin.
name?
Well, back then it was just Crispin. I changed it.
Yeah.
Way back in the day, it was a different one. That guy doesn't exist.
What was it?
anymore.
What was it? Share.
There's no way. There's actually it was it only lasted for a very short time. It was
Yeah.
only it was stupid.
Nice. You gotta let
Only
us
some
know.
people know is VP.
Yeah.
VP, Boss Poppy.
Oh wow,
That's
that's what it was, boss. Like boss the water.
Yeah, kind of like that, spelled out with a V.
Boss Papi.
Yeah, for like
so
a
from
very,
now on,
very
he's no
short
longer
time.
Crispin. He's Boss Papi.
For like a second. One time I went to this thing about it was personal growth. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, why am I I'm Crispin?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so. But podcast, like we were telling stories about people, como like una novela, like
Yeah.
people tapping into.
Yeah.
Y como casi todos los actores, los protagonistas de una novela
Mhm.
tienen dos nombres.
Sí, sí.
José Eduardo. And then,
Oh, so
Crispy
yours was Boss
Valentin.
Papi.
No, I'm Crispy Valentin.
Oh, Crispin Valentin.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
That's Crispy Valentin. That's
Oh,
my
okay.
name. That's my real name too.
Chris or Crispin?
Crispin Valentin.
Crispin. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
fine.
I already have a famous name. My name
Yeah.
is already
Yeah,
famous.
it's unique.
I just gotta
Yeah.
take it there to
Yeah.
people recognize it.
Yeah.
You know, but that's all. But yeah, that
That's
was my very short-lived rapper career. But recently, last year, I had some songs out. Just because I
Oh,
never
really?
had songs out,
Yeah.
like technically distributed and stuff like that. So I did it.
Well, on
and I
Spotify?
yeah, I got them on Spotify.
What is the
Apple
Spotify
Podcasts,
playlist?
Crispin Valentin
Crispin.
también.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna look it up.
You'll find
Shout
some
out.
songs there
Yeah.
that I did. I did a rapping song. I did a reggaeton type vibe song, and I did one that's just like it's like it's about a real story that happened because I was military.
Mm.
So I had a particular night that happened, and the song's called 300 Shots. And it kind of, you listen to it, it sounds violent and everything. And that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to give it, that feel of it.
Yeah.
But it's about a particular night that happened when I was deployed, and it talks about 300 shots. It was more than 300 shots.
Yeah.
But the story itself, you can kind of sort of tell, like, oh, dang. But
Yeah.
it's like, it has a trap beat. It has freaking, it's rugged. It sounds crazy.
What
but
is
it's
it called?
clean.
300 shots?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up.
It's
That should be the
clean.
outro to this video.
It's
300
a clean freaking song, no cursing.
Yeah.
But it's just like super like aggressive, super. And
Nice.
that's what I wanted. The other one is I'm a G,
Okay.
and I'm a G is like I'm a G, come like it's a vibe type.
Yeah.
I'm a G, but it's more of a. That sounds more like I'm a G, and then the G is for great, not like a G I'm a gangster or anything. Like
Yeah,
I'm a G
yeah.
and the G is for great.
Yeah.
And that's something I say.
You're like a good
sometimes,
gangster.
like a good gangster.
Yeah.
So I'm a G and the G is for great. Like I'm always great. Anybody asks me how you doing, I'm great.
Yeah.
And it's just the thing that I did. I made a song out of it.
I
And
used to
now
rap
when you,
too.
yeah. No, you did it. Did you
For real, for like
That's what's up.
like a little, but it was like that was back in my Pleasant Grove days.
Yeah?
You know, it's because I have a cousin who was rapping when
Do I
growing
know
up.
your cousin? Maybe I know you because I know quite
His
a bit
name
of
is
people.
Ozzy. I don't know if you know him. Ozzy.
That name sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, Ozzy from the Greedy Grove.
That name sounds
Yeah,
familiar.
yeah.
To
So
me.
he would rap, and then I remember I had a ducktail and everything, bro.
I know you know for sure the homie. Se me fue el nombre. I interviewed him
Yeah.
from Rowley. Michael
Okay,
Ray
yeah, yeah.
Rowley.
Yeah, I think I saw the interview.
Michael
Yeah.
Ray Rowley's from the Grove.
Oh,
That
what?
homie goes.
Yeah.
He-
Did you
he's-
grow up in
he's
Pleasant
so
Grove?
hard. No, but I used to go.
Yeah.
over-
Oh, you,
That's why I know the vibes of the nervousness
Yeah.
sometimes, because people will say Oak Cliff this and that. I'm like, Oak Cliff, I'm very
Nah.
comfortable. But when I go to the Grove, though, I'm just a little nervous sometimes.
Just like,
Just a little bit nervous.
yeah, no.
But you're right though. Food,
Yeah.
culture, everything. Like one of the videos that I shot for the podcast song. So we have a song for the podcast.
Yeah.
And
Is
one
that
of-
the intro one?
Yep.
That one's a good one.
Well, we have the whole video for
But
it.
is that you?
No, this
Okay.
is my homie Kilo. He's one of my guests.
Oh,
He's
nice.
from Chile. So we went to the Grove
Yeah.
at the Cinco de Mayo parade and got
Yeah.
a bunch of footage there.
Mhm.
We got a song, a whole video out.
Oh,
So we got an actual video for the podcast too.
And that
called The
one's already
Global
out?
Latino Factor. It's been out for about a year.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's about to be 2,000 views. The homie gets
What?
down on the hook, the beat. I kind of sort of gave him the idea of like a little bit of executive producer. Like I
Yeah.
want to go with this. I want this type of sound.
Yeah.
This is like part of the hook. Kind of sort of wanted.
So
this
you were
part.
like executive producing.
Yeah, well, I did executive produce.
Yeah.
I put all the funding and everything for
Yeah.
the song itself and the video.
Are you
so.
taking it back too?
Was that?
Are you taking the rapping back too?
Well, after those songs, I have ideas to create stuff too. I haven't let it go all the way because it's just like, I don't know. It's a good creative way outlet, and I have a bunch of ideas. And even if
Yeah.
it's not me, I like to, even if it's executive produce some tracks for people, because I have a good concept of how to run a label properly and things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe in the near future, something else pops up. I definitely want to do a video.
Yeah.
So I eventually gonna do a video, man, because you can't be a full blown artist and everything unless you have a video out.
Yeah, you have to have
So once I have the right song, maybe
Con esta
even,
quality, bro, it'd
Yeah.
be
so.
dale crispy.
Anyways, thanks so much for those questions, sir. You're a great interviewer
Yeah.
too, by the way. You haven't seen some of his episodes. He's out and about. He has a couple of videos out.
It's just a little bit of videos here and there.
Pero,
Podcast coming soon as well.
Yeah?
Hopefully a podcast coming
got
soon.
you.
I'm gonna interview you.
Okay, I got something for you. Maybe we can work something out. Okay,
Awesome.
before I let you go, all your social media, where can people find you at?
Yeah. So all social media is the same. ITS, like it's Gris Rocha.
Mm-hmm.
Gris Rocha. That's it. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everything. It's Gris Rocha. Verified, blue check. Just saying. I mean, I'm not trying to flex, but I got a blue check. I pay for it, like $15 a month. But it's
I wasn't gonna burst your bubble, but like
I knew I saw it in your eyes. You're like, really, bro? You're paying for it. Yeah.
Get a blue check too.
Yeah.
It sucks that they did that to you, bro.
But then at the same time, it gives you some credibility. You know?
For some people,
It makes you feel
that
good.
you have $15.99 to spend on every month. But it does. For some people, still it does.
It helps me a little bit with my confidence.
That's cool.
You know?
Hey,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
it's Gris Rocha, and then Hispanos Marketing Group is the name of my business.
And the other one.
And Contratista Latino USA. If you wanna, if you have a tío or tía, we all have a tío or tía that is in some way or form involved in the contracting space. Send them my way. I can help them.
You heard your tío, your tía before say, mira, se ve bien bonito esto, mira, ¿cómo le puedo hacer esto?
Exactly.
Hey, he's the guy que te
podemos ayudar.
ponga, pero bien bonito en la internet, en la interweb, para que te veas tu negocio y se vea como es un negocio de 5 estrellas, porque el trabajo ya es de 5 estrellas. Your work is already 5 stars. You just need to look it.
Yeah.
You look the part.
For sure.
Yeah. What projects, besides what you're doing right now, keep hustling, keep working it, keep growing it? What are your plans to scale up at a later time in the very near future?
Yeah. So with the marketing, it's a little bit challenging to scale at a rapid pace because there's only a handful of people that you can help with the limited staff that you have. So I want to figure out what's the best way that I could reach the most people, help the most people. So maybe streamlining a lot of the processes without losing the personal touch.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as marketing goes, I really I wanna just focus on helping the Hispanic community. I think there's a lot of potential behind Contratista Latino. I want to put together in the future expos. I want to put together webinars, seminars.
We talk about even doing maybe some events, some networking events.
Yeah,
in the near
networking
future.
events under Contratista Latino. Put a panel together, have somebody in finances, somebody in banking, somebody that speaks the language, understands the culture, and then just bring people together, man. Bring people together with the purpose of educating, providing resources free of charge. And the only thing obviously that I'd pay for would be like the service. But yeah, I want to scale it to the point where it's like Contratista Latino USA is like, I've heard of it. I want to get to that.
Because it makes your approach makes sense, right?
Yeah.
How are you gonna buy something you really don't understand sometimes, especially knowing that you already have questions about people taking advantage or people not delivering on there, right?
Yeah.
So if you're educating, what exactly is this? Why do I need this? What, even the fundamentals?
Yeah.
Like, oh, ahora ya entiendo.
Yeah.
Lo que estoy viendo en la tele es exactamente lo que yo puedo hacer con mi negocio.
Yeah.
Put it right there. Pero ¿cómo le hago?
Yeah.
You know, ¿por
No.
qué los colores? ¿Por qué esto? ¿Por qué esto? You know?
Exactly. That's a good point. It's funny you bring
Why
that
the
up.
colors?
Yeah. A veces el tipo de los colores, la tipografía, las imágenes, el diseño, el concepto es like, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué lo tengo que hacer así? ¿Por qué no nada más puedo agarrar algo del internet? You know?
Porque de seguro es de alguien. Because probably somebody might sue you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pero a veces son
exactly.
temas que son preguntas que nosotros quizás sabemos la respuesta, pero hay mucha gente que a veces no saben no saben y quieren saber. And I think we live in a time where with more reason we have to put a face behind what we do to create that trust and confidence in people.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful approach for the education part to be able to get them to even understand, to know why they need the services.
Yeah.
Not just because, you know.
Yeah. And it's
not
all
just
our
try to sell.
it's our moms, it's our dads, it's our uncles. So it's like it's kind of even a greater feeling, like es como si estás haciendo a tu tío, a tu mamá, a tu papá, you know. So I think it's you're winning on both ends.
But you will appreciate que a alguien le ayuda a tu tío.
Yeah, for sure.
Excelentemente, right?
Yeah. Que le
You
ayuden
will
bien.
love que le ayuden bien.
Sí.
Like, you don't want que después estás en la carne asada or just hanging out, like, tenía este y se aprovechó de mí.
Exactly.
Like,
That's the worst
man.
feeling, huh? Cuando
Like,
sabes que
¿quién
se
es tío?
aprovechan.
Let me go find him.
Exactly.
¿Quién fue? You know what I
Let me
mean?
go
Instead
tell
of
him.
like, heck yeah.
Let me
hey,
let me take Voss Papi to go talk to him.
shoot. And then he like, heck yeah, man. Yeah, he helped you out. Oh, qué bien. Hey, mi tía tiene ese negocio, necesita un poquito más. O sea,
Sí,
está bien, su tienda está bien chida, pero necesita un poquito más de ayuda. Hey, lo voy a mandar a él. You know what I mean?
O a veces tener esa confianza de oye, pues yo conozco a alguien que me ayudó,
Mhm.
me hicieron las cosas como deben de ser. y porque pues obviamente te aprecio, ahí te va este contacto.
Yeah. You see,
Ah,
if you're one of those people that taking advantage of my people, man, we're
man,
gonna
yeah,
find you eventually, and
yeah,
eventually you're gonna be washed up, or you're not gonna have a business because it's
yeah.
not cool to
It's
take
not
advantage of a people, especially they work so hard.
exactly.
They put their life on the line to get to the states, right? To
Yeah,
be able to work for a brighter future, for you to be able to scam them, you're a piece
yeah.
of.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I'm
already
with
know.
you, man. I'm with you. And like I said, there's so many experiences these conversations that I've had with people que a veces te agüita, bro. Te agüita bastante que a veces, como dices tú, tanto sacrificio que viene detrás, just even being here, bro.
Right.
Y luego tanto sacrificio de estar trabajando aquí o a veces siempre estar con esa expectativa de que, oye, well, maybe, somebody's going to pull me over, like with that fear of just even being here. And then on top of that, you have people that screw you over. That's some of the worst type of people that can exist.
I can see you through a lot of these contractors and a lot of these entrepreneurs, the way that you were kind of sort of bamboozled a little bit of like telling you something and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden take it from you.
Yeah, man. I know what it's like to just kind of sometimes you're sold a dream and you're just like, well, dang, it didn't play out the way you were hoping for.
But now it
Yeah.
played out for the best for
Yeah,
you, you
for
know?
sure. For
That's
sure. I'm
awesome.
grateful.
Awesome. Uh, when you were coming on your way over here, like, man, I wish he asked me this particular question, or I wish he touches up on this. Is there anything that we didn't touch upon that you really wanted to touch upon?
Um, no, I think for the most part, I think one of the things that I'll be honest, Whenever I was coming over here, I was nervous. But then I was like, but you know what? But what I wanted to really the the purpose I think for this interview for me it wasn't for me to put myself higher than where I'm at because I know every day is a new challenge. Every day is a new opportunity to get to where we want to be. So for me, it's just like I live in reality, and I think a lot of people sometimes not here, but when I've seen people like in podcasts or in videos, a veces como que se levantan el cuello muy alto, de que, oh, I made it, and then, bro, we still trying to make it, So I think for me that importance of which I think we accomplished here, transmitting the rawness and the reality of like the journey. I think that's mainly what I was really really hoping. Porque, like I said, I'm still trying to figure out a lot of things out, and I'm still trying to help people, and I'm still trying to grow my business, and
Right.
I go through the same struggles that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs probably don't say,
Mhm.
and you've gone to networking events. I've had experiences in some networking events years ago que a veces entras, bro, and you're just like, sientes como que hasta menos because you're just like, dang, well, he looks all well put together, So me, I didn't come to pretend that I'm put together, I'm raw, I'm real, and we're still trying to figure it out. We're still
Yeah.
trying to help, but I think your line of questioning was great, man. Yeah.
The
Subscribe. His podcast is the best. Yeah.
the thing that the front that some people like, not to,
Yeah.
please don't take it as a bad thing, but a lot of the times we go into social events
Yeah.
putting up a front
We
that
do.
we all got to figure out.
Yeah, sí,
But our
como que-
ego is on our way, knowing that if we just talk to this one person that can put us in a better position because of what he's saying or the connection we can make to better off. That's the reason why we go to some of these type of events,
Yep.
right? You know, to expand ourselves. Your network is your net worth, all that
Yeah.
stuff that they're
Yeah.
saying that there's a reason for it, right? So you just kind of sort of like gotta bring it down. I don't have it
Yeah.
together,
We don't.
but I'm okay.
Yeah.
But talk to me. What you got?
Yeah.
Maybe you and I
Maybe we can
work
help each other too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe we can help each other out. Maybe you're the missing key that I was like lacking.
Yeah.
That's gonna open up
That
bigger things for
opportunity.
me.
Yeah.
You know?
Many doors and opportunities have been opened through networking events
Yeah.
for sure. And then como dices tú, it's been that mindset of coming in as humbly as you can and saying, you know what, I don't have it figured out. I'm not here to put myself down either, but I'm here to just be honest and say, hey, you know what, if there's any type of partnership that can come out of this event, or is any type of assistance that could come out of any resource,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
So
But then you know your worth as far as your skills and what you're able to
Yeah.
deliver for people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, you don't, but there's a beautiful and powerful thing about not knowing, right? Because that opens up the possibility of getting to know
Yeah.
and learning something new instead of thinking that you know everything.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
puts you in a very weird position thinking that you know everything.
And we don't always know everything. We
Yeah.
won't always have it figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, any industry, everything is just evolving so quickly, especially with technology, that there's always going to be somebody that just knows a little bit more than us. And I think having that sense of like, I don't have it figured out, I think it's going to help us be more open and receptive.
Absolutely. And any shout out, saludos. ¿Qué
Shout out,
quieres mandar?
toda mi familia de Monterrey, Nuevo León, mi familia de Tampico, Tamaulipas. Shout outs to y'all. We out here with Crispin. We made it. We made it to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
when I wake up, I usually have a saying something along those lines. I'm not immortal. I am mortal, and I will die one day. That's
Yeah.
not to scare me, to frighten me, terrorize me, bring me
That's good.
bad
It's the
juju.
first time I've heard it. It's really
But
good.
it helps me realize that I'm not immortal, right? This is short lived. It makes me hurry up and want to do things and keep busy with things, right? Um, there's some power realizing your mortality, right? And it helps you hurry up and get to do stuff instead of just thinking about it. With that, I
Yeah.
wish you a long, prosperous life. However, when everything's said and done, what do you want people to think and feel about your life?
That was a deep question, man.
You didn't
Got
get to
real
the
deep.
end of the
Yeah, I
podcast.
know.
That's what happened to you.
That's crazy. I skipped through it. That's good. No, I think. Well, that's a good question, man. I think if anything, one of the things that I've realized is that we can do everything. We can do our best to be remembered. As much as we can. If we can live our entire life trying to be remembered by something, but I think I've kind of came to the realization that at some point you're forgotten. That's reality. Whether it's one generation, two, three generations down.
Yep.
So I think living to create a lasting memory of who I was is not as impactful as actually living to create change in the people around me, impact them to the point where that memory is the change is outlasting the memory of who I was. Whether that is, helping people with, generational wealth, whether it's helping people establish a generational company, right? Or anything that I could do that could last more than the memory of who Christian was, I think that'd be great. That'd be great. I mean, because at the end of the day, I'm not gonna be here, bro. It's not like I'm gonna look back and be like, oh, se acordaron de mí. I mean, it'd be great if they make a statue of me, So if I'm gone, please make a statue of me in my mom's front yard so she can see
Hey,
me every day.
that was a great answer, bro.
Yeah,
One of the dopest answers. It's really good. A lot of people don't realize that after a few generations,
you're gone.
that's it. Nobody remembers you.
No more Christian Roach.
What is an important lesson that you learned doing marketing or establishing your company that you would tell your younger self that will help somebody else out? What would that be?
Yeah. Definitely. Have consistency and determination, and because one of the things that I think I lacked a lot was that consistency of doing things to the point where even though I didn't see results, continue. Even though
Hmm.
I just wasn't seeing the finances, continue, because that outlasts us sometimes, and that shows more fruit at the end because you've been doing it for such a long time consistently rather than pockets of time. So I think that speaks more volume. So I tell myself, hey man, just keep going. Any little thing that you could do, just remain consistent, even if it's not marketing. Anything, see if I'm, cleaning shoes, if I'm doing something, like just do it, do it, do it, do it. Hard work is gonna pay off. I think that consistency.
Yeah. Sometimes it's so much easier to throw in the towel and quit,
Yeah.
But this is a motivational video Les Brown talks about when you're in your deathbed and
Oh, I love Les Brown.
all the dreams come and visit you with big old eyes that we came to you
It's
and
yeah,
and
the whenever you're at your deathbed
yeah,
and then the memories or the souls of the unfulfilled dreams are gonna come to you and say, "Why did you let me die?"
yeah.
Hey man,
Wealthy
that's good.
space in
Yeah,
the cemetery is
yeah,
the cemetery for the
exactly.
same reason. So, give it a go
Yeah,
and keep it going. Cause
and don't be afraid to pivot either.
yeah,
I mean, because sometimes you can get fixated in what could have happened as far as like what I could do in this industry, or sometimes you get so fixated on this dream and aspiration, and sometimes it's time to pivot.
yep,
And if what ends up happening is if you drag out a dream that you want to fulfill that maybe isn't working out, you're dragging it out, and you're just kind of like inevitably like going to fail anyways because that it was time for you to pivot. It was time for you to adapt and evolve. So
not only that, do not get discouraged. I'm not telling you what to do, but do not get
yeah,
discouraged if other people do not see the dream that was given to you and the vision that was given to you
yeah,
to fulfill. Other people are not going to see it that way
no,
because they don't have the passion, the drive, the dream of the things that you already seen.
yeah,
That unfortunately they might not be with you, and it's okay
yeah,
because it was given to you to fulfill, not for them.
yeah,
If it so happen to be that you find people along the way that can help you out and grow, great.
yeah,
If not, it was given to you to fulfill. You got to keep it going for you,
yeah.
even when it's almost feels like it's time for you to throw in the towel. Just keep it going.
Keep pushing, keep
Keep it
pushing.
going.
Agreed.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
The first time I met you at the chamber, again, it was already vibes at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It was super cool to meet you. You go out there, you're super excited, shake
Talking to
people's hand.
everybody. Hey, what's up, bro? Come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Friendly, inviting, even the vibes itself. You were immediately as soon as you saw my stuff, you took it to Gilbert. Like, mira, mira, look
yeah.
at this.
Oh,
Did you
that's
know?
right. I was like, bro, did you
saw that?
see this guy's quality? Gilberto was like, what? He didn't even know, right?
No, he didn't. Because
Yeah.
I try to keep that separate from what I do regularly.
But not me. I say.
But here and there,
Yeah.
I throw it in
Yeah.
there because I do this.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about
Yeah.
sharing those beautiful stories that we have, the resources of the things that you do that can help our community out.
Yeah.
I think it's super powerful. And even though what I do, I do it to the most when I have an opportunity.
Yeah.
And it was way after everybody's already
Yeah.
almost gone.
But how
We were
did you
the
feel
last
that
ones.
that I was like so excited
It
about
was
it?
freaking made me feel good. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't it? Because
Yeah.
we have been putting in a lot of work. We
Yeah.
have been super proud of what we've done so far.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep it rolling, but it just makes you feel good. Why?
Yeah.
It's okay to acknowledge that it make you feel good because you're doing good work and
Yeah.
and so people can really recognize.
Yeah, and I think that that's when you kind of see like, oh, what? Because sometimes you kind of go into the cycle of like, oh man, I've been putting in the work, but then it's like that one person that like I was genuinely excited, bro. Like you saw it, and I was
Yeah,
like,
of course.
yo, like look, I was just impressed by everything, bro. The colors, the quality, and the format. And I ran over to Gilberto like, hey, bro, look at this guy's videos. And he was excited too. He was like, oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna do something.
Yeah, we're gonna do something with
Yeah.
him too. We're not done yet,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're absolutely gonna get something done. And yeah, it makes you super proud because you realize that some of the things, even though the monetary part is not there, the impact
Yeah.
that is more valuable. Sometimes you want to realize how much impact you are really doing in the community. And
Yeah.
everybody tells me all the time, like, bro, you're really changing something, bro. You're really educating people. I mean, you're really making a difference in the community. You really,
Yeah.
you're a representation of something that other people are not doing.
Yeah.
All the celebrity talk and everything, to each their own. Not my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Just not. Rather have an impact in the community that is long live after me. That even though I might be remember, those videos are gonna be YouTube. Be like, oh
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I as soon as I saw it, you're super excited. Your marketing,
Yeah.
the company itself, and then shortly after, I realized how much the stuff you've gone through as far as your story. I'll be like, man, that is freaking
Yeah.
wild. And like I'm truly sorry for your loss, bro. But I don't doubt that your dad is up there, looking down, realizing and very proud of the work that you've done, realizing that all those times that he got to spend with you, you're exercising in real life right now.
Yeah.
And we 100% proud of you, man.
I appreciate it, man. That
Definitely.
means a lot.
And without a doubt, Christian Rocha, you are a global Latin factor. Thank you very much for
Appreciate
being
it.
here. I
Thank you
appreciate
so much, sir.
you. Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
This was another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast. Remember to subscribe right now. I'm your host, Crispin Valentin. And remember, we are just like you. We are people. We are the spice in this melting pot that it is the world. Till next time.
Thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Global Latino Podcast podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe to the channel and check out one of the other episodes that we have prepared for you. Thank you very much. Till next time.
One, what is Del Avigo? Walks like a pero but in fact is a flamingo. Coming to Havana and
Welcome you now to another episode of the Global Latino Factor podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Thank you very much for being here on another amazing episode. Remember to subscribe. Why? Because you're helping us spread these amazing, beautiful stories, such as this particular individual. A very honored, very privileged. I know she hears it all the time, but you gotta understand when you're growing in the '90s and some of your high school peers are kind of claiming a click of this, click of that because of getting your hair dyed and everything because of a particular crew, and then hearing the songs and hearing them on your car and every party you go to, that's the songs are playing. Man, that's a privilege. We have today a legend in her own rights, half Mexican, half Italiana, from the legendary Salty Water Records and Dope House Records. Powder in the house. Hola, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, it is truly a pleasure. I know you hear all the time. I know people say a lot to you as far as like how much they admire you, how much you influence them, how much you impact them, even as guys, like how you kind of inspire them, which is crazy,
Oh,
but
stop.
still, it is cool that
Yeah.
to have somebody that, all them songs, man. Anyways, I'm gonna start. What's that called? What's that word? I'm gonna start being star stroking, and I'm gonna get to the interview.
We're going to start with a segment that I like to call Preguntas al Chile. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
They're tough.
Okay.
Tacos o tortas.
Tacos.
Corn tortilla or flour tortilla.
Flour.
Gorditas o sopes.
Gorditas.
Gorditas o pupusas.
Pupusas.
Yeah. Woohoo. Mexican coca o jarritos.
Mexican coca.
Okay. Salsa verde, salsa roja. Do you like spice? Do you
Verde.
care? Verde all day. Team salsa verde, baby. We got
Yes.
that from Woods. Spaghetti a la carbonara or lasagna.
Lasagna.
Yeah. That's the Italian question, by the way. Menudo or pozole.
Menudo.
Valentina, tapatio, or Cholula hot sauce.
I don't like hot sauce
At all?
at all.
None of them.
None of them.
Cool, cool. Okay, so cumbia dancing, salsa dancing.
Cumbia.
Cumbias?
Yes.
Okay. A conspiracy theory that you heard one time, that when you heard, you were like, that has to be true. No way, that's not true. What would that
It
be?
has to be true.
Yeah, like you like, that's got to be a real deal.
Oh, that's a hard one. That is a hard question because most of them I'm like,
The one that you think is the closest that you've gotten to maybe being a real deal. What could that be?
that the government was hiding the fact that we had aliens and they had already discovered them, and now we found out that it was true.
They be lying to us. But you know, sometimes us as people, we're not
Yeah.
ready for the truth. We say we are,
I know that there's other beings out there. I
Right?
just know it.
right?
You know, there's no
Absolutely.
way it could just be us.
Yeah. When you hear the word Latino, Latina, what's the very first thing that comes to mind?
Pride.
Pride? Awesome. Okay, so let's get to your interview. Again, I think a lot of people know who you are. I think a lot of
hope.
people know how you started your career. But I have just a few more questions about that.
Okay.
So you're Mexican and Italian.
Yes.
So your dad is Mexican.
Yes.
Was he born in Houston in the area, or he came over from Mexico?
No, he was born in Texas. He was born in Brownwood. It's like in kind of West Texas area.
Yeah. Was his whole family like being here forever, when this used to be Mexico that you know of, or did they actually came from somewhere in Mexico?
As far as I know, because we don't know too much that we don't know,
Got you.
how far back it goes. But even his dad was born in Texas.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably Mexico.
Yeah.
It's always been like Mexico.
Yeah.
What about your mom's Italian? You said, right? But you're
Yeah.
not too much into the culture as far as
No,
her?
not really.
Really?
No.
Do you know what area, what part you were from? Her family from Italy?
I don't.
Really?
I don't. And a lot of the history of her family is unknown. Her mother was killed when she was a baby. So
Very
yeah.
sorry for her.
There's a lot of things that we don't know about
Gotcha.
all of her. What is going on
That's cool.
there as far as DNA and everything.
Yeah,
There's a lot
yeah.
we don't know.
That's cool. Have you ever tried to do an ancestry to see what region in Italy you're in?
Yes, well, and I have it, so I'll have to look it up.
Oh.
But yeah, it winded up being a lot smaller than I thought it would be.
Really?
Yeah, and then I had like some Creole in there that I was surprised to
What?
see. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's start with your career. As I remember, you used to be a dancer. You like dancing more
Yes.
than rapping. Rapping wasn't even a thing that you wanted to consider. You used to even dancer. Back dancer? How do you? What is the
Background,
word?
like a-
background dancer.
Yeah, background dancer.
For
yeah.
Johnny Z and all that.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you get into the dancing part? Who influenced you in that area?
I just always liked to dance.
Yeah?
Yeah, and when I started hanging around musicians and everybody, they were like, "Well, we need a dancer for this video, or we need a model for this video," and I kind of just slipped right in there, and I was like, "I can do it."
Were you doing it in school or anything like that? Any training
No.
at all whatsoever?
No.
You just naturally know how to dance.
Yeah.
That's dope. Maybe that's tied to your previous ancestors too.
Maybe.
Maybe some belly dancers or something like
Right.
that. Okay. So and then after that, how did the artists start finding you that they need somebody? Did you just know people that are kind of famous already off the bat, or what?
Well, not really, but when a friend of a friend had introduced me to the guys from Salty Water in Galveston. So I met them, and they introduced me to SPM at a show that they were doing together. And then it just kind of like snowballed from there. I started hanging around all of them, and you just start meeting everybody.
That's cool. So what is the first? So I remember you used to be in a relationship with Pancho V. Did that come
Yeah.
first before you became actually a member of the record?
No.
So that was after.
Yeah.
So they brought you in. did they had the conversation? How did the conversation go with Pancho V as far as you being in a song?
Man, it was a lot of conversations.
Please.
It took a lot of time. Like I met him and we were in the studio and I was playing on the piano and we were singing a little bit and vibing and he got my number, but he didn't come at me like that at all. He just was interested in my mindset. I could tell. He would call me and just talk to me for hours and just trying to figure me out, trying to feel me out, trying to see like where my head was.
Yeah.
And yeah, we talked on the phone a lot. We hung out a lot before it was finally kind of like, look, you want to come, do that? You want to be a part of it?
Yeah. And then, what made you want to agree to it? I mean, I know there was no interest of you, no dreaming of you being a rapper, an artist, anything like that. What did he say that made you want to? Okay, let me give it a shot.
Honestly, I just liked everybody. I liked everybody. It felt right. It felt like I fit in. It felt like family. And I like doing it. I like to. I've always sang since I was real little. So singing came to me naturally. So it just seemed like a good fit.
That's awesome. Tell me how did it feel to be in the studio, recording yourself and hearing you for the first time?
Amazing.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. Yeah. There's nothing like it.
Nothing like it ever.
No.
What is your process for making songs, if you don't mind me asking? A lot of people like to hear the beats.
Yeah.
I think you're more of a beat picker and then go into it and write to it. I don't know if you like to write. I don't know if you just like to go off the dome and maybe just what's it called, tap in. How do you like to do it?
I'm definitely a writer, but I like to vibe. I like to get in the studio with like-minded people, listen to beats and just vibe and come up with ideas for the song. Like, what's the song going to be about? Vibe to that. Once we figure out what the song's going to be about, then I just need like some focused time to write. I always have to smoke. That's just part of my process.
Yeah, of course.
It helps the creative juices flow. So I'd smoke something and write.
Yeah. So the very first song, remind me again, what was the very first song you recorded with Salty Water?
Very first song was a song called Muévele with Chuck Stilley.
Yeah.
Yeah, Muévele.
And it did come out. Everything, it was released and everything?
Yeah.
How did the crowd react? How did you feel like? Because I remember interviews that were doing way back in the days where people were talking about you, like, so powder, this and that, and you were like super swagged out, all that. Already knew how to. You look like you were already trained for like media training and everything. So you was chilling the seat, talking about, I got a record coming out. But how did it feel to be known, like recognized that you were like made songs that you're kind of like an artist now?
It's always been crazy to me. And a lot of people tell me, they're like, man, you're just a natural when it comes to like being behind the camera or being in front of a camera or doing an interview or doing a show. It always just all came very natural. Okay. I don't know where it came from. It's just in me.
Yeah. Do you think any of your family influenced growing up something like that kind of environment or whatsoever? Or not really?
Well, my mom put me in piano lessons. Yeah. And my sister was very into theater, and I was always into theater too. I really deep down want to be an actress. That's like my end goal. But yeah, I think that had a big influence on me musically. I always had music in my life, always.
And then we have the novelas always playing. We're always doing that part. We always got them playing,
Yeah.
So, okay, piano. Because I remember I hear that a few times on interviews. You actually know how to get down on the piano.
Yeah, I can like really play.
Why did your mom want to put you a piano? Did you thought it was going to be something to help you?
She used to play a little bit. We had a piano in our house.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, she kept us really busy. She would put us in everything. Like we were in dance, and my brothers were in soccer and softball, and everything. We just always were doing something.
Extracurricular activity.
Yes.
You're always on point on.
Yes, and each sibling kind of just dropped off, but I stuck with it.
Yeah.
I stuck with it because I liked it.
All right. So fast forward, you get with Salty Water. What is the biggest record will be Nasty Girl?
Yeah, probably.
And how big do you feel like it got, and how huge was it? And what was the biggest crowd that you ever got to perform? And you kind of sort of got the feeling like, damn, I'm a rock star.
Definitely the Joel Carmona car show that he had one year. They said, and I don't know if this is true, but they said it was like 30,000 people. I don't know if that's true because I don't know if that place can hold that, but it was packed. The arena was packed. But yeah, that was probably the biggest show. And then I didn't realize how big it had gotten until years later when people would come and be like, man, you're about to, like, my friends in Colorado are like your biggest fans, or my friends in, my cousins in Arizona know you. They can't believe I know you. And my people in Cali know you. And then I did features with a girl in New York. Like, I didn't realize that it had hit everywhere. I got features from Florida from that, New York, Cali, like it hit everywhere, and I just didn't know it for a long time.
Well, y'all hitting out of state? Because I know the run was maybe like about a year or so or something like that, maybe 2 years?
About 2, yeah.
About 2 years?
Yeah.
And did y'all ever get to go out of state to do some shows, or just stay mostly here in Texas? 'Cause
No.
you could really tour here in Texas and stay busy.
Yeah, and we did every city in Texas, I feel like. But yeah, we never got out of state.
Yeah.
We were probably headed on our way there, but we never got there.
Yeah, it just shortly fell off. Okay,
Yeah.
so as you shared before, you got in a relationship with Pancho V. Things started not working out. It started getting a little, how would say, abusive.
Yeah.
I remember the word you said.
Yeah.
So after that, you exit out.
Yeah.
At that time, whenever you already met Carlos, SPM,
Yeah.
and then you started talking again, what was the conversation like with him to try to bring you in?
Well, I mean, yeah, we were still very close. We saw each other and talked all the time. And when it was over, and I was done with them, because I tried to go back, even though I had left. I did try to go back, and they, pretty much it was like he was like, no, this is not, we're not doing anything. So once I realized that it was really over, I talked to Carlos and just told him about it, and that I was just letting him know, like, hey, it's over. I'm not with Salty Water anymore. And it was just instinct to him. He was like, well, come over here.
So were you trying to go back just to do the business, just to be the artist and be part of the label, or?
Yeah, because we had a single coming out, "Take It Off," which was on Lone Star Riders, and it was big. Like we knew it was going to be huge on the radio, and I just wanted to go back and be part of it because I was hearing like they were trying to take me off of it, and I'm like, man, you can't do that. Like let's see this through,
Yeah.
And no, he didn't want to. So
You didn't want to.
no, I think they took me off of one version of the song
Yeah.
and tried to put other people on there.
So let me ask you this: why did you want to be you weren't getting compensated at that time, right? I mean, I'm
No.
pretty sure I don't know exactly how the payment worked. If
I didn't get
anything,
nothing.
at all.
Nothing at all.
Not
Like,
even your daily expenses at all? Because
No.
y'all were in a relationship, right? So you figure he should have taken care of you some way.
No.
At all?
No.
Wow.
But I, when I finally started to get powder shows, I would get paid for that, but he would still take a chunk of it. But I would still get but it had to be somebody calling and saying, I want to book powder, which of course, I mean, come on, who's going to say that? We've got all these songs together. So it's always lifestyle shows.
It's always like that.
Yeah. But a couple of times I did get powder shows. So I would get paid for those, I get a
Well,
portion anyway.
You get paid well at that time?
I
For
mean,
the
it was
time being?
okay.
Shoot, hey, money's money.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing what you love, right? So
Yeah.
when did you realize that it was something that you really love? When was it that you actually realized, man, I really love this? Like, even though I never done it before, maybe I know I danced maybe at the house, play some piano, but like, where is it? Like,
I think
man,
the
I
first
love
time I
this.
heard one of my songs,
Yeah.
the first time I was able to like jam it in the radio. Like jam it, in my car on the radio, like just be able to listen to myself. That's
Yeah.
when I really knew. I was like, okay, this is it.
Does it feel, how some people, artists, sometimes it feels like a little cringy to listen to themselves at all? Not at all? For you?
Some things, yes, because not every song is a hit.
Yeah, of
So, and I didn't even like Make It Hot when I first did it. I didn't like it. I was like, this ain't. And everybody's like, no, this the one. And I'm like, no, but it winded up being huge.
You want to be a huge.
Yeah.
That's dope. Okay, so I get with Carlos now. Fast forward, and you start literally sign a contract now upfront.
Yep.
Signing bonus.
Yep.
So now you're really doing it. How does it
Yeah.
feel to get money? Like
Oh,
finally.
I was like, man, it was night and day.
Yeah.
How they treated me at Salty Water and how I was treated at Dope House was night and day.
Wow.
Dope House was respectful. They paid me, now I didn't get royalties for anything. They don't, and I think that was part of like a problem. I know a lot of artists were upset, like they don't really do the royalty, like the publishing part and all that. They usually pay people up front, so you're not getting too much of the back end money.
Gotcha.
But still, just to get money up front to do an album before I had even recorded anything was amazing.
That's dope.
And they were helping, like they got me a car, a phone, were helping me with that money that they gave me up front helped me to live while I was recording the album. So yeah, it was nice to be treated the way you should be.
So part of the signing in is just that, did they give you the car or let you use the car and all that stuff and set you up to make sure you're good to go?
It was at first it was like you can use this, but then yeah, they gave it to me.
That's
They
dope.
actually gave me more than one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's dope. The money was really coming in really good over there.
They were. I mean, they were doing the best they had ever done at that point. You know.
So what's the difference between recording with Salty Water and their studios and recording with Dope House Records? What was the main difference?
Well, unfortunately, once I did get to start recording at Dope House, SPM was already locked up. So it was very different because I was alone at Dope House. You know, it was just me. Whereas with Salty Water, it was always all of us. You know, in the studio and vibing together, and writing together. So it was very hard to be on my own.
Yeah, but you still got through quite a bit of so there was really not a lot of great like performances and things you did with SPM and Dope House at that time?
No, I didn't get to
Very
do
shortly?
too much with that because
Wow.
he got locked up shortly after I joined the label.
Okay, so when you get to the point to where like, okay, this is not gonna be it for me. I know you said you didn't have any kind of education per se. You had dropped out
Yeah.
because I'm gonna be a rock star. Forget y'all.
Yeah.
And of course, any kind of skills, work like job experience, resume,
Nothing.
things like that.
Yeah.
So when is it that it hits you like, yeah, this is just not gonna work out at this moment?
When they let me out of my contract,
Yeah.
you know, when they said, well, they gave me an option. Either you can stay, see how things go, or we'll let you out of the contract and you don't have to worry about anything. And I was like, okay, well, let me out of the contract, I guess. And then I was like, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have, that's when I realized.
Was there any talks, people getting signed left and right, the Court Baby Bash, Universal, different things? Was any other labels, anybody else approaching you because they might have heard about you, they seen what you was doing?
I did have some people approach me after that, some guys from Def Jam, and, a lot of people trying to work with me. But, yeah, I just was not interested in being a part of another independent label. You know what I mean? I had enough.
You had enough.
Yeah.
So what is the first thing you try to do whenever you try to look for a job? What kind of jobs do you think?
Well, I didn't like go on a job hunt or anything. I was living with my ex and kind of, I guess you could say, being taken care of. So I wasn't like really trying to find a job, but I was trying to get out of that relationship. So I knew I was going to have to get something to be able to get out on my own. So a friend of a friend, it was a homie hookup. A friend of a friend was like, hey, there's this clinic that's looking for a receptionist if you want that. And I was like, I'll take anything. Anything. I don't care.
Yeah. You seem like a people person, so you seem like you would do a great job at it.
And I did, and I really excelled at just everything. I mean, I took it and I ran with it and I made a career out of it, and and I made a living for myself. I was able to start taking care of myself. It was great.
And then you get this little itch, I think it's maybe 2008, maybe, to try to make an effort to come back.
Yeah, and I did a mixtape.
You did a mixtape?
Yeah, because I had gotten my own studio in my apartment. I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and I would have my room and then the studio room.
So you know how to record yourself and everything? Learn?
I had Pro Tools. I recorded myself, everything.
You know how to do that?
Yeah.
How did you learn? YouTube?
My brother.
Yeah?
Yeah, my brother kind of showed me how to work it because he was making beats at the time. So he showed me how to work it.
So was he giving you some of the beats that you were using for some of the mixtape, or where were you getting your beats from
I
at that
actually
time?
did online.
Yeah.
I was just strictly getting them online. So it was just like I wasn't fucking with nobody. It was just me and what I was doing.
Were you learning about the game at that time? Did you already know that you needed to have like maybe exclusive beats? You needed how to distribute your music. I don't know if at that time you were able to already put it out, maybe CD Baby or whatever the other ones there are, to try to distribute your music?
No, I still didn't know a lot of that.
Yeah.
Now, I knew I needed to sign up for like ASCAP and things like that. I had learned that.
Publishing.
Yeah, but I didn't know, none of that. And so when it came out, it didn't do too well because I didn't know how to promote it or anything like that. And I didn't have a team.
What was your role at that time? You just did the project, put it out. Did you get it? You did everything, mix, master, everything? Or
No, I got some people, the old producers from Dope House to help me with that.
Okay, so you got it all nice and packaged.
Yeah.
But you just don't know really how to roll it out.
Didn't know how to roll it out. Didn't know what to do. I just wasn't experienced, but I felt like I think I just needed to get that out. I needed to get it.
How did it feel to get back and start recording? Did you feel like you missed it? Did you feel like you were home?
Yeah, I missed it. I missed it. And that used to be, I would go to work, come home, get in my studio, and be in there till like 1, 2 a.m. and then go to sleep and do it all over again. And I loved being alone and doing it.
Did all those tracks that you record, do you still have them somewhere in some?
I do. They're still on my old computer. Yeah.
Do you think that could be something that could put out, or you just?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, they could probably be recycled in some way. Yeah.
That'll be dope to hear some of the stuff you have. I mean, that means you got a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually have a producer from Dope House that hit me up and said that he's gonna start looking through old hard drives to try to find the stuff I did over there too.
That's what I hear.
Because it never came out.
There was a missing hard drive. Was that because the feds came take it, or you disappeared
No,
the hard drive, or what?
they said that the computer crashed or something.
But all of a sudden, maybe just.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? It makes you feel kind of strange, right? That it just crashing now is kind of come to life.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cause any controversy. What I'm saying.
Well, you know, the bottom line is either way they would have owned it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? They would have owned it, and I knew that when I left. I was like, well, there's that album.
But if they're out, yeah.
Yeah.
Your voice sounds so different on that Mexican radio remix.
Oh, because I was a baby.
Man, you were so young. You can hear it.
Yeah.
Your voice now is powerful. The delivery, everything is just like wow.
Yeah.
Okay, fast forward. Is there any other itch from 2008? Anything? So you put the project out. It doesn't really do well. Does
Didn't
it kind of
do
like?
well. Kind of just stepped back out of it. In 2013, I got back in again, and that's when I actually hooked back up with Pancho V. To the guy that was, I think, managing him at the time. His name is Art. And he saw me out and was like, man, you need to come back. And he's like, I'm working with Pancho. You need to come back. And I'm like, I don't know.
He's out of jail at that time, right? 2013?
Yeah, he had just been out, I think, maybe a year or two. And I was like, all right, I'll think about it. Because, it had been so long since all that happened. I forgave him. I'm not about holding on to shit. So I was like, all right, we'll see what's up. Went and met up with him. He had some tracks already in mind that he, I guess, wanted a girl on. And I did them, and they were fire. And I was like, yes, let's do this. We're back. And we put out a song called Bad Bitch Alert with Pancho V and Carolyn and me.
Rodriguez,
that was really good. And me and him did a couple other songs that never came out, but that were really good. But we couldn't agree on how many albums we were going to do together.
So you wanted to do just one.
I wanted one.
But they wanted to do longer term than three of them, right?
Yeah,
and
he wanted
just
to do
for
three.
you. Why did you want to have that longer commitment for three? Because it was fire, right? You recorded some fire stuff?
But for 3 albums, that would have been years out of my life. Like, I just wasn't prepared to. And I'm just now getting back to trusting, him as a person. And that seemed like just too much for me.
Yeah. So y'all couldn't find a compromise?
We could not agree.
Not even 2 years?
Nothing.
Not
like,
even 2
nothing.
albums?
It was 3 or nothing to him.
Yeah.
And then I had somebody else approach me that offered me one. And so I was like, well, that's what I want. I want just one. I just want to do one and see how it goes and then move on from there.
So did you go with the other particular label?
The other particular label, just that they fell off. Something happened with them. And and that's when I was kind of like, okay, everything happens for a reason. I'm not supposed to be back in this business.
Yeah.
And that's when I hung it up again.
And
nothing ever worked out when I would get into it.
Okay. Well, fast forward going, you still living your regular life. You'll be married, have kids.
Yep.
And then now, fast forward, year 2021 is when you get awarded the, or 2022?
2022. 2021, SPM hit me up and asked me to do the Day of Unity show.
Okay, so you get back performing on 2021 for Day of Unity.
Yes, I did that one show. I had no expectation of getting back into it, even though he was telling me, SPM was like, you need to get back in.
Yeah.
You need to get back in. You're going to kill it. Da, da, da. I'm like, I like my life, and I was like, I'll do the show. No problem. I'll do it. And I did the show and still didn't have an itch to really be back.
Why did you agree to do the show? Just because he asked you to do?
Of course.
Yeah?
I'd do anything for him.
Okay. Awesome. And then 22, you get awarded with the Legend Award from,
Yes.
I forget their...
SLM.
which is...
Support local music.
Support local music from
Yeah.
Houston.
Yeah.
Apparently they're a big deal. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I'm from here. I'm not too familiar with it, but they're a huge deal.
Yeah.
They honor you.
Yes.
And then as you're... First of all, they have a conversation with you. Like, hey, we have your mind to recognize you. And you're like, I'm no legend.
Yeah, I didn't see myself like that.
Really?
Yeah, I still didn't. Until I got back in the game just recently, now I have started to see the impact that I made. I did not see it in any time between now and then.
Yeah.
So you get awarded that day. How does that night go that day? Because you get to
Oh
perform
man.
too.
Yeah, that was beautiful. It was a
Yeah.
beautiful night. I had so many friends there. The performance was bomb. And that's what I think sparked for me to come back, because everybody was just like, girl, it's like you never left. Like, what the fuck? You just got up there and killed it. They couldn't
Yeah,
believe it. Like,
yeah.
I don't think anybody knew what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't performed in years, you know? But it went so well.
Yeah. Then after that, you land on the studio, do a feature. Mr. Neverdat wants you to be on a feature.
Yeah.
Kind of convince you to go to the studio with Manic.
Yep. Manic
Beats,
Media,
and
yeah.
then just have a whole conversation, like a whole, sometimes it's just the vibe, the conversation. You get into it, and it just becomes something deeper, right? At
Yes.
that moment in time.
Yes.
And then, of course, I don't know if that's the time. Then the moment you decide to go, let me go ahead and just do this, or I don't know when you decided to, but let me go ahead and give it another go.
Well, we talked about it that night about, man, maybe we should, Manic's like, we should do an album. And I was like, maybe. I don't know, and I left it alone. But then a couple of days later, yeah, they hit me up and was like, he really wants to do an album. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, at that time, I was working from home, work from home mom. I felt like I had kind of lost myself in it, and I really needed that something to help me find myself again.
Yeah.
I really needed it.
Yeah. What do you think you were trying to find?
I needed to find who I was.
Yeah.
I had lost myself in motherhood.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you anymore. You're just like this slave to these kids, that are just, they need everything from you. And I was with them all day by myself,
Yeah.
so I had really lost myself.
What have you found so far as being into who you are?
Oh man, everything. I found my spark. I got my spark back, my everything, the fun of my life back. Now my life is, and not to say kids aren't fun. They're fun, and we have lots of fun.
Very interesting little drunk individuals sometimes running around.
Yeah.
Little drunk little people.
Yeah, and
Just
they're
kidding.
fun, but I
course.
had lost a lot of just my spark.
Yeah. All right. So now you work on the album. The Queen is back.
Yeah.
That's the name of the title.
Yeah.
Released already?
No, well, I've been releasing singles from it.
Okay. When is
Yeah.
the hard date that you want to, like, as far as your mind, to roll it out and have it out already?
All I can say is that I want it out by the end of the year. I can't
Okay.
put a date on it because I am making sure that I'm releasing a video with every single. So
It's a lot of work.
yeah, it is a lot of work, but so much goes into it that you cannot predict when that is going to be able to release. You know what I mean?
How do you feel about? I know there's been a few interviews that I talked about it. I think it was the one with my boy David in the house.
Yeah, shout out them damn Mexicans.
TDM. Appreciate you. By the way, I'm sorry I didn't give you your props. Thank you very much for connecting us.
Yes.
Super glad that you're here. The I went blank. I don't know why. I think something kicked in. I'm just kidding. How do you feel about? Because I heard on that same conversation, like people are the attention span is so short.
Yeah.
Like right now, and just went somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are releasing shorter songs.
Yeah.
People are releasing EPs, not
Yeah.
really full blown albums.
Yeah.
Do you want to still do the album part and with videos and everything? I don't know how many tracks do you have in mind.
13 tracks.
13 tracks.
Yeah, and the reason I decided to release it the way I am was just because I was just getting back into the game and I was starting from zero because I had no social media. I was not
Yeah.
on social media, nothing. I was like, I need to get my following back. How do I get my following back? If I just put out an album, nobody's going to listen to it. Nobody knows I'm here. So I need to just build up that hype. So I was like, I'm just going to do singles off the album and let everybody know I'm here. Come back, come listen, come
Yeah.
follow. So that's why I decided to do it like that. Once I think I'm going to have maybe 3 to 4 songs that haven't been released when I do finally release the whole thing.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like the. So I don't know when the actual remix happened for the 1 in a Million, the EDM version. Was that way before you even started beginning to dive back in?
I think he did it a long time
Yeah?
ago. Yeah. And when I got back in, he hit me up. He emailed me and was just like, Powder, I did this 1 in a Million remix a while back, and I just wanted to send it to you. And I heard it, and I was like, dude, what would you think about releasing that? I love it. It's
I like
dope.
it. I like it. It's dope.
And I've always wanted to do something different like that. And so, yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm all about it. So we did it.
You wanted to experiment with different
Yeah,
sounds.
different sounds.
Do you want to do that on this album? I remember hearing the beats are a little bit throwback, a little
Yeah.
bit. You get nostalgia from some of the sounds that you picked out as far as the beats,
Yeah.
and of course your delivery. Why did you feel like you gotten better, or you just got more confident, or you just still have it and never lost it as far as whenever you started recording? Because it sounds like
All of the above.
everything. Of course, you were younger, right?
Yeah.
You were 18 years old, 19 years old,
Yeah.
20 even.
Yeah.
And then now you just sound. I was telling somebody like, man, her confidence, her delivery, you can tell. It's like I'm telling you, like you look like you somebody that got trained, but you just naturally just good.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? Where does that come from? Just you were you practicing in your shower? Tell me the truth. Were you practicing in the car driving to work, like going through all these
No.
stuff motions and stuff?
No, and that's crazy. And it really shocked me how I got better. It did.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe I can still write easily and come up with hooks easily. And I couldn't believe that my delivery